Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Night Owl. Another edition. This is Brother John,
Woo,
and
woo.
tonight's topic is if you were king, queen, or could run the government. So we've already pretty much started the discussion before the show. We're touching upon a bunch of different things and throwing ideas out before coming on air. So we got Brent, Joseph, Carlton, and Ruben in the text, and yeah. So we're trying to start a utopia here.
Well, yeah. I think I'm not
So
sure.
I think one of the first things we were dealing with was the criminal justice system. What would it look like in this kingdom of yours?
Well, I was just to say, if you want to go for a utopia, though, shouldn't we? Shouldn't the women be sort of permanently incarcerated and only used for reproductive purposes?
That's a great way to start the show off, Colin. Now you,
Well, I think you need
so
to
you,
set down. You need to set down the parameters, brother John. Whether like you were going to say, like it's a new planet from the complete ground up.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's what
that's
we're
right.
gonna try to do. We're trying to build a. This is again, if so I'm gonna ask you to speak as individuals. If you were, since we got all guys in here, if you were the king, or the president, depending on what system you're going to set up, and you're setting up a system from the ground up, what are the some of the first things you would do? I mean, I know for me, I mean, I think one of the wisest things to do off the bat would be to get some advisors, right? Trustworthy advisors.
Yeah, I think you have to start a council where there's actual. I think it has to be a democracy too.
I don't, hmm, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't know. The council idea I like. I'm not adverse to a monarchy or what is a rule by council called. I'm not sure what the official name is, but I'm not necessarily adverse to having a group of people who have absolute decision making power. I don't think. I don't know.
Would you set it up like a Roman Empire, or have a Caesar, and then have like
I,
the
I
Senate?
I almost wouldn't want a Caesar. I almost would want a council of equal voices. Um, and, an odd number of people. And I don't know, that just might encourage backbiting and backstabbing and secrets and what have you. But
Well, this is going to probably be unavoidable now. This is human nature you're going to deal with too. So this is going to be, part of the issues you have to deal with in governing.
hmm,
I stand behind the model we have here as far as, Congress goes, with a representational body as well as just a, two-person per state body.
Right, and as we were discussing earlier, yeah, I mean, I think we probably have one of the best systems. It's just the problems of checks and balances and having more accountability, as we were discussing earlier. Yeah.
I've always been a fan of like more real-time voting on the issues from the people directly, not just the representatives. That's so hard to implement, though.
It, I can address that for a minute. I think that's actually something that exists in our government, but isn't talked about in school anymore. I mean, you can start a bill from the people and get it up on the Hill, but nobody understands that every citizen has a contract with the federal government these days. It's not talked about.
I think I would object to the idea of the direct voting. And not to be unkind, but I think the vast majority of people are idiots, and I think that they should not have a voice in their government because I don't think they are qualified to have a voice in their government.
Okay, but we were talking about education earlier. If the educational system is properly put in place, don't you think our vast majority of idiots would start to
Well,
become?
no, I don't. I think, and here's the problem. I think you can educate somebody and you can give them more knowledge. I'm not entirely convinced you can make them smarter people.
So in your kingdom or your government, there, Carlton,
In my kingdom of idiots, yeah.
would it be like a instead of an IQ, a VQ, a
Well,
voting
yeah,
class?
yeah. I
You
mean,
used to have?
sort of the original, the old concept of kings and philosophers. That maybe the philosophers should rule. and it shouldn't be the common man that rules or that has a voice, because he doesn't really know. He's very short-sighted, and all he knows about is what's best for him, and that in no way implies that it's best for society.
I think if that's the case, then the education system that you set up has failed. I mean, you should have an educated populace for the framework that you're going to put in your government.
Well,
Right.
I think
So we got to start with foundations. We got to deal with the foundations
Well,
here of
I think
our
you can,
society here.
I think you can educate people to a minimal level, and I don't mean minimum. I don't mean low. I just mean I think you can establish sort of this cutoff that everybody should be able to understand things at some particular level. But I don't think it is feasible to educate everybody to the level that would be required to be a good leader. And so I think still that there should be an elite, if you will. I don't like the word, but I think there should be an elite that rules. I think you should educate everybody else. I think they should. I think they should. I think you need to do that to have a civil society, but I'm not sure that that would necessarily qualify anyone to be a leader.
I agree with you, by the way. I just wanted to hear that listed out. You're going to have people that, if they're going to be government, if they're going to be versed in government, as opposed to people that are versed in whatever they're versed in, isn't going to be a full-time, government. How can they possibly be educated on all of the topics that are going to be coming up, for a vote?
Right. I think that education has to be provided free, though, so even your common person could actually become an elected official.
If they want to, yeah.
I do agree the populace should have, the ability to, raise issues, raise public awareness, and even, create a bill to go up, like now, to be voted on. But yeah, just having outright public vote on something, I think, is maybe locally, but.
Well, I think I could get behind the idea of people. I don't want to say I won't use the word voting, but I'll say I like the idea of people being able to voice their opinions on particular topics, but I don't think that vote should carry any weight legislatively. I know it's informational only. It's so the people who are ruling can get a sense for what people think they want or what they would like to have, so that if everything else being equal, yeah, the leaders can say, well, okay, then let's do this because this seems to be what everybody wants, and it's no worse than doing the other choice. But I don't think the people should be able to vote in or vote out laws.
So some kind of real-time system like the internet that your officials look at daily that shows what their constituents are kind of interested in at the moment or don't agree with. Maybe something like that?
Yeah, to raise issues, to say,
And what if maybe in this education system, since we're building it from the ground up, you're going to educate them in how your government works, and the basics, math, writing, stuff like that. Perhaps some critical thinking skills as well, economics and stuff, but that they have to reach a certain level, a certain degree, let's say equivalent to a high school degree, or maybe even some equivalent to a first-year college degree, like a first year of college kind of thing. I'm just trying to be comparing to what we have now, and they have to reach this level in order to have a right to vote and influence the society. Because they've already proven themselves to be somewhat educated all around.
I would still like to know exactly the framework that we're working with here. I mean, what are we constructing the government for?
What do you mean?
Well, we've got an education system, and what other role is our government going to play? A legal system apparently is what we started to debate, setting up a legal system, obviously, but I mean, what other functions is this government going to play? I mean, we're making it from the ground up, right? Right now we have non-functional Department of Education, corrupt USDA, FDA, and a bunch of bureaucracy that basically does nothing but collect union dues. I would like to see what our government is going to be here for. Our Constitution says something about we put governments together to secure our rights and provide for the common defense, but
Right.
I mean, common defense I can see, yes. But should we need to elect a government to secure our rights?
I don't know.
Just to protect them. But then like we would start talking about different issues of how your government's gonna deal with issues, say, of marriage and divorce, and now and then you see the slippery slope we can go down, because now you find that there are needs for these little bureaucracies, these little offices here and there, and so how far do we take that?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Well, the whole idea of I don't know. The whole idea of defense is a weird one for me. There's part of me that says, well, maybe instead of trying to create a utopia, what we really should be doing is allowing individual, separate communities, the idea of states, right? Let them run themselves, right?
So what are you going to do? Like subsidize space travel? Like if the
Yeah, I know. But if you don't like Montana, don't go to Montana. If you like the way they do things in Utah, go to Utah. But the problem there is, again, and this is kind of what you were talking about, is now, well, who steps in, when Connecticut invades Rhode Island, right? Who says, no, you can't do that, no, that's not allowed? It almost forces you to have some type of a national or an oversight military now to be able to keep things, from escalating. I don't know.
Even if you subsidize something like space travel and said, all right, you guys can't get along, here you go find you a new planet. And then one planet starts running out of resources. Where are we going to go? Well, let's go see the Jew planet. They got plenty of stuff over there.
The Jew planet.
Wow, and I thought I was bad with putting all the women in jail to start with.
Oh,
yeah, exactly. I don't feel bad.
Okay, good.
Well, man, I need Adam. It would be great to have Adam Lauren here right now, because we know.
Oh boy.
You know what would be interesting? Do you know what would be interesting? And I don't know that you could ever make this work, but what if, right? Because we talk about things like greed and competition and all those negative qualities. Well, all those negative qualities, at least in my mind, typically happen between certain age levels, right? What if you could have a government that was literally run by children? Let me finish this, right? So let me finish this. Let me finish.
Did it already?
Wait a minute. Let me finish this. But what if it was run by children that are, let's say, between the ages of 9 and 12, but with counselors that are octogenarians or older, so they with advice and counseling from people that are in their at least 80 or 85. They're on their way out. They know they are, right? Because I think by the time you get 85 and 90, competition's not an issue. There's nobody you're going to compete with, and that greed and things, that you've kind of gotten that out of your system, so you sort of have the innocence of childhood and you have the wisdom of old age, and you eliminate from government anybody in between those ages.
Nah, you just have the old men manipulating the young children.
But I don't think they. I mean, I think I'm being naive. I know, but I think of it more like grandfathers. There's no reason for them to manipulate because they're on their way out too. So
Doesn't that kind of happen in some countries?
So the old people should have the best interest of everybody at heart, because they're not going to get anything out of this. They're not going to live long enough. And the kids are
humans. They don't always have every other group in mind. They don't.
I think what we would find ourselves with is a system that had larger recesses at school and more Social Security.
Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe so. Okay, but a lot.
Reuven says you want a country led by a child, move to North Korea.
Yeah, but we'd have a lot less. We'd have a lot less war. But but the thing is, though, we talk about a utopia. I mean, that's really is what we're talking about. We're talking about a society that sort of has the innocence of a child, where they don't want to hurt anybody. They just want to. They just want to. They're hedonists. They want to enjoy themselves. They want to have fun, and they want to build stuff that they can have fun with. I mean, that really is, I think, what you want in a utopia. Is that sort of childlike innocence.
I still stick by my initial statement. I don't think humankind in its current state is capable of a utopia.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. You know, let's try to. Yeah, it's nice that we all would like to have this utopia.
I'd be happy with a functioning society where we weren't always trying to kill each other.
Yeah. So let's work on that. Let's be a little bit more.
Okay. Well, what about a monarchy, right? Because they say there's no better government than a good king if you happen to have a good one. You know that it's the most effective, it's the most efficient, because it's one person making the decisions. There is no bureaucracy. If you have a good king, you know you can end up with I think with a very good society. Now, obviously, if we have a crappy king, you can very quickly go the other way. But
so, what are you thinking? Like a monarchy where the king actually gets elected? His term is short, therefore the people can oust him at any point?
Almost. My only fear there, of course, is again, is stupid people. Because I think there's sometimes that kings do things that maybe are not popular, but they are needed, and they're legitimate things that need to be done. So I'd be careful about ousting him. What's that?
Are you going to let people inherit that royalty?
No, I like the idea of voting them in, and I like the idea of I think we could vote them out as long as there are some not a restriction, but as long as we say that it requires 70% or 75% or whatever of the popular vote in absolute numbers in order to vote him out. Just to prevent people from just one group of people just being pissed that he did something they don't like and now they want to vote him out. But I think if you get the majority of the people, right? This is a very democratic sort of thing in a way, right? If the majority of people have decided that he is not acting in the best interest of everybody, they can vote him out, and there should be an army, and that army should report to the people, right? That should be their only job. There should be no other standing army that they're going to have to fight, right? The king can do what he wants, and the army is sort of at the disposal of the populace if they reach that critical, vote him off the island stage. And if he's a good king, he should stay there as long as he can stay there, as long as he wants to stay there.
No term limits, huh?
No, if he's good, why term
well,
limits?
If he's good, you could make a year term limit, and people will keep electing him anyway. So let's,
Yeah, I suppose, but I don't want to do that. The reason I don't want to do that is then we end up with you'll end up with these gargantuan elections every year that suck all the time and resources away from everybody.
Yeah, but wouldn't you agree in a utopia you'd have more kind of like an internet system? You'd sign on with your little government ID, and every year you'd say, okay, here we go, done.
Yeah, I don't know.
You're just required to do it.
Yeah, you have to log in with an ID.
But it seems sort of a moot point. If he's a good king, why waste the time? And if he's a bad king, we can vote whenever we want to get him out of office. So why should we have to keep voting to say?
It doesn't have to be an organized vote. You have to have it like on one day at a certain time.
There's
maybe once a year we say that. Once a year we don't elect you to office once a year, but once a year you have the opportunity to de-elect him, if you will. I mean, assuming he hasn't done something really stupid before that. But as a matter of course, maybe every year we say, who would like him to step down, and then you have the vote. So no one's running for office.
Maybe you say you have to once a year you have the right to petition to get rid of the current king. If there's so many people that are on board with the petition, then everybody votes on it.
Yeah, exactly. So if you get 30% of the people that say that will agree that we want to have a vote, and then you need 70 or 65 or 80% of the people to sign off on it, and then he steps down, or your little standing army goes and helps him off the throne.
I kind of like that idea. Petition then vote it if.
Yeah. And in the meantime, you have an extraordinarily efficient government. It's a government of one or however many helpers he wants. But yeah, he makes the decisions. He guides society. And you pick the guy that is the philosopher king. You pick the smartest person, from amongst you to rule over you. Yeah, I think that actually works really well.
I don't like the idea of rule over you. I think serve you is better.
It is serve you, but I don't.
I get you. I'm not trying to be argumentative.
No, that's okay. That's okay. And I graciously accept the vote. Your votes, and I'm gonna put it on here. Nobody would elect me king because then they would leave. Good Lord, can you imagine how long the State of the Union speech would be?
I almost forgot.
I just worry that if you had a monarchy, then I think you'd be losing out from a representational government without having any type of parliamentary process or Congress that actually speaks for the individual concerns of groups of people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I guess I would assume that again, if we have a good king, he would make that effort to find out what people wanted. He would put something in place to hear what people actually wanted to do. If there was some question about that.
Yeah, but if you had, just for example, a country the size of the United States, one man can't do that without having representation from each state, basically coming forward and saying, here's what my people need, kind of a deal.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure if we need local representation. Like somebody else had mentioned, we got the internet. We certainly could set something up that the king could go type his go to SurveyMonkey and put his questions in for the week. And but certainly he would need people to help him. He's not going to be able to do all this himself. I agree. But again, and even if he wants to do that, so sort of like, okay, so now we are talking sort of like the Roman days and the early Christian days, right? We're gonna have governors in the territories, that are assigned by the emperor, who's the monarch. The only problem I have, the only problem that I have there, right, is that, out of sight, out of mind. So as soon as you send out governors, he may very well be a good king, but what's going to end up happening is behind his back, you'll have people out there as governors that are screwing the people, and you don't get to vote them out of office. You got to vote the good king out of office, and that might be problematic. I don't know.
Kind of makes you appreciate what the framers went through.
Makes you think what?
Kind of makes you appreciate what the framers of the Constitution went through.
Oh God, yeah.
Now I have my king hat on, my king glasses.
Oh, very cool. And Elvis has entered the building. That's nice, John. Yeah, that's cool.
Are you ever amazed, Grant? The Constitution was made way back when, but yet how much of it is still so relevant today and actually fixes so many issues? Not that corruption hasn't screwed that too, but.
Oh, I agree. There's a lot of good. The system is good in a lot of ways where it hasn't been broken. Absolutely.
I mean, even if you look at stuff like human rights and racism and stuff, even though they had it back then, and a lot of the four founding fathers actually had slaves, it was written in there to where they shouldn't have.
Well, I mean, the other way to go from a monarchy, right, is you go the opposite direction. And we could do what Israel does with their military, that everybody's got to serve. Instead, what we do is everybody in our utopia has to serve in a political office. They have to. They have to serve the community they live in for a year or for 2 years. That's their job, and we'll pay for them while they're in that job. But everyone has to do it, from the youngest to the oldest. I mean, once you're a certain age. And that way, at least everybody in the society ends up with an appreciation for what everybody else is going through when they're trying to govern.
That's a lot of people, though.
Yeah, but again, I think if you did
The
that by,
required government service.
but if you did that, I'm not talking about, you got to go work at the DMV. I mean, if you set up, if communities are kept small and communities have a small governing body like a town council, then it's practical to say that everybody's got to serve, maybe even on a rotating basis. Between the ages of 20 and 60, everybody's got to serve. For a year, once every 10 years or something, or 15 years, depending on the size of the community, just so everybody rotates and spends some time on that council periodically. I think that encourages people to maintain relationships with
But
their.
that year can interfere with their regular, say, business or work.
Well, it's going to be like jury duty. If you maybe you can
For
postpone
a
it,
whole
or maybe
year?
it's just a one-time thing, and you just say, look, you got to do your 2 years. That's just how it is.
And they do
So
it up front. Like as soon as you get this degree, as like I was mentioning, you get this degree in the
yeah, you
education,
rotate in. There you go.
and then you serve, say, a year or two, serve in the government, some capacity,
Yeah.
and then then you're on your way.
Yeah, I
What you
think
want
if
to
the
do?
if the communities are small enough, that works. Now, if you're talking about New York City, that's just not going to work. There's too many people. You'll never get them.
Well, remember we're building our government from the ground up now. So now we're going into
Well, but then that
now
but
we
that
go
begs the
zoning.
but
How
that
would you
begs
do zoning?
well that begs the question, because if you've got to have small communities, right? At some point, you're going to have to say you can't live here anymore because we've hit our this is our max. We don't want to get any bigger than this. You got to go live somewhere else. I don't know. Yeah, okay. I would. Excuse me, guys. I'm sorry. My wife is yelling from downstairs, so I gotta call it a night. It's getting late.
The queen is calling.
The queen runs this house. Let me tell you. Uh,
Yes.
all right. So
Probably
wait.
lost Joseph. What happened?
It's
All
just,
right, Carl.
all right, man.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. All
Ciao. Get you guys later. See you tomorrow.
right, good night.
Hey, bud.
What happened to Joseph?
I don't know.
To our one viewer out there, if you want to put something in the question and answer, there's a question and answer app out there. I don't think we have any questions so far. Oh, Phantom Lion. Oh, Phantom Lion's in. He wants to join the conversation. Yes, sir. I'll get you in here. I'll send you an invite. Yeah, so it gets complicated, Grant, right?
Yes, absolutely. Well, and none of us are schooled in foundational government or uh, I don't have a degree in law. you
Mhm.
know. I don't know what the
Yeah.
educational background was of the framers of the Constitution, but I imagine a lot of it was in some form of legal background. But I don't know. I don't know. I couldn't speak to that. And it's funny because I've read stories about most of the people involved. I know John Adams was a lawyer. I don't know about the rest of them.
Yeah, I don't know either. Tell you the truth, I don't. How much was self-taught as well? I mean,
Yeah. Well, and they had a huge advantage too. Well, not. I don't know that it's an advantage or not, but they had come from a monarchy and could see the things that they liked about their existing system and what they would change and laid it down, in what they believed was the best possible form of government that they could put here. And how are we, going to say, well, here's what I would change about that. I mean, it's not an easy task other than to address the areas that have been most corrupted, the areas that have been most outdated, and the areas that have, led to problematic, situations in our society. It's not an easy task. I think it would be hard to tear apart our current form of government and replace it with something completely foreign to what we have. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess it's gonna be hard because we already we already have this government in our mindset. Um,
Well, that, and we're able to compare what our government offers across a wide, variety of other governments out there in the world. And whereas, now with all the propaganda that's being flung at us and us opening our eyes to some of the greater truth of what we have here, we can still realize, ultimately the system that we have here is, still a great system at its core, not
Yeah.
the corrupted version, but at its core.
yeah, I agree with you there. So even if we use that as a foundation, I guess
Yeah,
how do we change?
I'm
Yeah.
with Ruben in the sidebar, who's stating the importance of education, and I'll just read basically what he said. Any British person in America of wealth or means would be educated across the board. They could pretty much do anything they wanted since there were no public schools. Tutors of the best quality would be provided. All were expected to be fluent in French, Latin, ancient Greek, able to read both the Greek classics and the New Testament. Almost all were educated in the law, history of the world, a broad overview of religion for the period, and many went on to learn Hebrew. Of the founders, only a few knew Hebrew. So yeah, I I think I'm thinking it was Thomas Jefferson who said that education should be free to the poor. Or I can't remember how he phrased it, but it was beautifully put. He said everybody should be educated. Something about I can't even remember what he said, but it was about lowering crime statistics. If everyone was educated, then you didn't have to worry so much about people stealing for a living. He phrased it much better, obviously, and I can't remember how he put it, but it was well put the way he did. Anyway, I think if we made a broader investment into the education in this country, I think more problems would be solved because we would have, people capable of solving them, especially when it comes to, critical thinking skills and, things along that line, which are. We were in a hangout today, weren't we, where we talked about the problem with education. It was Joe that brought up the topic that said, like in our schools now, we agreed on the fact that who did what and when they did it is more important than why they did it in our current schooling. Do you know why Columbus sailed the seas in 1492? You know where, who funded him, but do you know why?
That's a good question. No.
Exactly. And if you asked, don't worry about it. It's not going to be on the test. There was no critical thinking involved in most of the history that we learned. There was no critical thinking involved in a lot of the school that we learned. It was, names, places, dates. And I think that needs to change.
Yeah. Hey, Doug.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hello, Doug.
How you doing today?
Pretty good. I ordered a webcam today.
Oh, so we're gonna see your face soon, huh?
You'll see it. I don't know if you like what you see, but you'll see it. I got a really nice one too, a nice Logitech 1080p. At least the reviews say it's nice.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So, have you heard any of the discussion we're having here today?
I just basically kind of clued in on Grant talking about critical thinking, but I don't know really what you guys are talking about right now.
We're building a new government.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
Yeah, the topic is if you were king, queen, or running the government, how what would you do? And we're basically trying to start from the ground up. But I think the consensus could be that the system we have in place, even in the United States, is one of the best. It's just a matter of changing the inner workings, enforcing checks and balances, making more accountability, and of course, we're also talking about. I think also the foundation is good education.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And that would solve a lot of the ills that we have already, because then there'd be people learn to be, I guess, productive citizens, knowledgeable citizens, where they can, influence the government in a positive way. So
I think a big key also to having a healthy government is has to do with kind of nurturing a culture of political, not necessarily activism, but political awareness. It seems like so much of America is just wrapped up in the total consumer lifestyle, and they don't even pay attention to politics pretty much at all. And that allows, I mean, just look at what percentage of the population of any given state actually participates in voting, and I think that allows a big. Oh, hi, Paul and Irmine.
Oh, Paul made it in.
yeah, I
Hi
mean,
guys, I'm going to just mute myself.
Hey again, Paul.
How you doing, guy? Oh my God, there's lots of people I know.
hey Paul, how you doing? I don't think we ever met before.
He's muted now.
No,
Ruben, did you invite from Ruben?
Who? Brother Joe. Okay, I'm going to go to your page and ask you to be my friend.
Well, you got a heavy accent. It's gonna be hard for me to understand.
You pick up on it pretty quickly, actually. I met him this morning.
Yeah, I wasn't
okay.
having too much trouble. Anyway, to continue my
Ireland?
thought. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, now good. I was just wondering if he was from Ireland.
Scotland, I think.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Okay. All right, Doug. What were you saying?
Oh, I was just going to say that a general political lack of awareness in a population just lends itself to the government and business interests and all kinds of other influence groups to kind of slowly erode the checks and balances you guys are talking about. Business is someone, I forget who it was, but some famous economist said that business is the worst enemy of capitalism because they're constantly trying to get the government to, give them special privileges or special protections against competition. And, to the extent that people are not aware of, what's going on in their country politically, these sorts of things are just going to get worse and worse and worse until it reaches a point where it's actually having a major effect in everyday people's everyday lives, and then people will start paying attention. But then it requires sometimes more drastic action than just voting for people.
Yeah, I was like to just interject here. I mean, when a populace, like a whole country, has been abused by maybe what you could call like an overbearing leader of a country, okay, let's just get it out there. I live in a country where it's called the United Kingdom. It's 4 countries that are in the Union, but we've all been dominated by one of those countries, and we all hate being dominated, even though we've had what you would call benefits from being involved in that 4-country union. One country has, above all else, has made more out of it than others, and then they keep trying to tell everybody, oh, you're always going to be better with us, you know, and it's hard to get people to change their mind, to see the future, and that's what my country's going through at the moment, and it's painful to watch. People not understand that although they say you're the same as us, they're really just our bosses telling us what to do, you know what I mean? I don't know if you can get around that, but anyway.
So where were you guys with the topic in terms of, because I don't want to carry over our last discussion from our last hangout, but what were you guys kind of focused on?
I just came in here, so maybe Brother John or Grant could explain it better, but it sounded like they were just talking about if, like, you were the philosopher king of a country, how would you design the government, essentially, so that it would improve over what we have?
Ah.
So far we have a big emphasis on the education system. We have no idea about representational government. We haven't really even put a construct together of what the government is going to be there for, so we don't know about how many bureaucracies are going to be spawned out of the legislation.
I'm going to piss you guys off big time and tell you I'd let Christ do it.
I was about to say that the first thing that I would concentrate on, like yourself, is health, then education, and then a judicial system. And then above that, I might want to argue about a political ideology or a religious ideology, but that would be like sort of the fourth or fifth stage. You know?
That's interesting. You put health up higher.
Well, yeah, without healthy people, you can't have a healthy nation. You know what I mean?
I actually like the idea of health and happiness being a top priority. I think you're going to be less susceptible to have high crime rates and poverty and everything else, war, if your people are happy and healthy.
And then education after that, so they understand why they need to be healthy, and you know, and then to expand their ideas and make new inventions, and you don't have any political or religious ideas that impinge on that. It's just health, education, you know, and then like, you know, above that, you know, you might have a social structure, you know, the judicial system, to make sure that people don't kill each other, stab each other, rob each other, and then your political and religious system comes after that. That's just my view, you know.
This kind of comes back from the last hangout we had for God Talk when we were talking about contentment, right? And there was that quote that says, you know, a garden and a library is all you need to be kind of content. And I think, yeah, the more content your society
well,
is,
if you have a God, you don't need a library. You only need one book. You know what I mean?
No, he said a garden and a library.
Oh, what did he do? He thought I said God?
I think so.
Sorry, yeah, you were breaking up, and I thought you said God and a library. You know,
no, God. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Paul's adding to that. You need a garden, a library, and a hospital.
I think I would get together with everyone. We would decide what we want our standard of living to be, you know, technology-wise, health-wise, education-wise, and we will implement those for free, and that will be supported by a compulsory civil service, some sort of institute.
I would say
not politicians, but people who are paid to make the world work good for people.
I would say all you need to be happy is a garden, a library, and whiskey.
Which you can probably make from your garden.
Paul would agree with you on that. Whiskey.
No, I wouldn't actually. If I was to create a society, I would not have alcohol as part of it. I would probably have, you know, datura or LSD mixed with MDMA as part of my society. I would definitely not have alcohol, involved in my society, no tobacco. Yeah.
Right on.
But lots of hallucinogens.
Yeah, but you can't take them every day. It would be like,
How do you prevent that?
The
well,
festive
that-
harvest, and we all get fucked up our brains on MDMA and stuff, and we'll shag each other, and who cares, But I would definitely not have alcohol involved in my society.
So then this time kind of goes over to how many rights does your populace have?
Well, that reminds me, I would make one more rule.
I don't understand the word rights. Are these the same? So, what do you mean?
Well, if somebody wants, I'm sorry, if he wants to,
Oh,
go ahead, I guess.
I said I was going to say I would make it illegal to stop people from lighting themselves on fire. Have you heard about that?
Like the Buddhist monks during Vietnam?
No, there's a challenge going around on the East
I
Coast
think
right
it's sort
now.
of like the YouTube challenge. It's a bit like the ice water challenge, except you spray very quick acting hydrochemicals. So when you spray yourself it and then you set it out, it burns quickly, and you just hope your hair and face doesn't catch on fire.
And what are they doing what's the charity they're raising awareness for?
There isn't one, they're just doing it.
Oh, yeah, let them do it.
Yeah, I say we don't need them.
Spoonful of cinnamon.
Hold on, Paul, can you hold on a second? Yeah, what were you saying? Yeah, no, I got to clarify here. There's a challenge because it was hard for me a little bit to understand Paul, and I don't know if you guys are hearing me well. What's this? Is a challenge for a person to light themselves on fire for any particular cause?
Nope, just light themselves on fire.
How many people are doing this now?
I don't know. There's a case going on right now where a mother watched her, like, video recorded her son lighting himself on fire, and I guess he died.
That goofy challenge that they have going on right now?
It's the newest one.
Yeah, I just read something about that the other day. It seemed ridiculous.
All right, I'm back.
I say we let him do it. We don't need him around.
Evolution at work.
Yeah.
I had to go say hi to Michael real quick. Brother John, he sends you his love.
Michael?
Yes.
Where is he? How come he isn't in here?
He was on the phone just chatting with a friend, and he invited me in for a few minutes. He will be back in about an hour or so.
Okay, cool. Tell him I said hello. Hope to see him soon.
Oh, maybe we'll get him in here.
So, Cerberus, don't we have to pay for a fireman to put this guy out, or say if he goes into a building and starts a bigger fire?
I am perfectly willing to be the one to go in the building and put it out if it means that stupid guy gets to light himself on fire. It bothers me on a very fundamental level that someone would want to light themselves on fire.
Yeah.
Are you talking about this fire challenge or whatever the hell?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So now, are these people drinking alcohol?
Maybe.
There was one that I heard about on the news where a teenage kid did it, and his mom actually filmed the damn thing.
Okay. Yes, I want to get back to this topic, though. This is actually important to me. Well, not important, but interesting.
No, you're right. You're right.
Could I just mention something? I've seen a video that's on Google Plus where a guy was standing on like a deck, a deck above with a big bucket of ice and water, and his wife and kid came under and he tried to tip it over, and then the whole bucket slid off and fell down and smacked his wife on the head. I think this
I saw that
water
GIF.
thing is getting out of hand. Somebody's going to get killed by this, man. You know what I mean? We've got to stop this, man. This ice bucket thing. Why don't you just donate money to the charity?
Because then they can't get the attention that they so desperately need.
Yeah, they've gotten like
Yeah.
probably 50 times the amount of donations they ever could have by doing this.
Why is it so important to continuously try to top each other with the on-camera bucket challenge and then sending it out over social medias?
There's
I think
actually
Obama
a theory for
I
that.
think Obama was right in just saying, I'm not going to get ice bucket, but I'll give you, I don't know where to get it. An undisclosed amount, but I'm sure it's worth $1,000. Just give $1,000 to the fucking charity, and never mind the buckets of ice falling on your head. You know what I mean?
Well,
So,
the whole challenge was about bringing the awareness, so it's gotten all the publicity because of the challenge.
I think the bucket challenge got the awareness, not ALS.
well, I'm hoping the next time that the MFS, you know what I mean? The what do you call it? The Doctors Without Frontiers. I'm going to auction off my beard. I am going to shave my beard live for MFS or whatever you call it, and it's by the inch. I will cut it off by the inch, or if somebody wants to give me $1,000, I will shave the whole beard off, tie it up with ribbons, and put it in an envelope and post it to them wherever they are in the world for $1,000, for MFS. But that's just me.
I think we should have a challenge to where you have to do a semi-difficult math problem, and if you can't do it, you have to donate everything you own to a charity.
I don't own much, but I probably would solve that math problem, unless it's a math problem that no other mathematicians have been unable to solve. But I'm pretty intelligent and astute when I'm not drunk.
All right, I'm with Grant. Let's stay on target.
Yeah, so a lot of these problems we're talking about, again, it comes back down to education, right? Teaching people common sense, critical thinking.
I liked what Service was saying as well. I thought that was a great foundation.
Oh, with the compulsory civil service?
Well, and finding a baseline for standard of living.
Oh, yeah, and guaranteeing that for everyone?
Yeah, I'm with that. I'm on board with that.
So I guess the biggest question there is, though, how do you provide for that, the whole entire population and make a system to where there's enough resources for everybody?
No, on you go.
I just think there's also a ton of lazy people. Why should this? I love it, an idea that there's.
That's why I said compulsory civil service. Yeah.
Oh, what's compulsory?
It means you're forced to.
Yeah, but they're still lazy sons of bitches that you wouldn't want.
They can be as lazy as they want as long as they're doing the job.
But that's the whole thing. They're not going to do the job.
Then they won't get anything.
What's punishment for not doing the job? What's the punishment?
Yeah,
I would say
system is set up so that no matter what, as long as you're willing to work, you can live fairly comfortable. Yes.
No, I've got the solution to this. People who don't want to work, they're forced to be the free, childcare. Somebody goes to work and they have to leave their kids, in childcare, and you pay like $950 a month for it. It's like let's make the people who won't work, make them be the child carers, except that listen to me. They're separated from the children by a glass cage, so they can only shout at the children, which is pretty much what the parents would do if they were their enemy, because you don't want to hit them. And so basically, the children would grow up exactly like we grow them up today.
I look at people who are like single parents, right? What do you do with them?
What do you mean what you do with them?
Well, they can't work. They have to care for their kids.
Okay, so you make them child carers, and they look after the kids and pay them for it.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. That's a good solution. Never mind.
But in the grand scheme of things, it comes down to a little bit of responsibility. Like if you knew you were going to have to do it, maybe you shouldn't have had your kid.
That's people die. People get cancer. Their significant others die. You can't even say that. There's more.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Hermione. That's not a choice. Some people become pregnant just like they catch cancer. They get drunk, they have a good time some weekend, and then they end up having a kid. And, you know, that happens. Fucking sake, we're humans. That's what humans do. You know what I mean? We fuck each other and we get pregnant. You know what I mean? If you're a woman, and you're lucky if you're a man, because then you can just wander off and say, "Well, it wasn't me."
That's a good example. Like, and that's why I'm always interested in the compulsory part. Like, there's been stupid stuff that I've done in my life. Like, gee whiz, thank God that there was a safety net. But there's other things that people have situations with. Like, my family doesn't have cancer running in it. I'll give an example, right? Do I think it's unfair for me to have to pay for other people's cancer bills because they grew up with a lineage that has so much cancer in it? Yup, I think that's fair because I'm a human being. Tough shit. Like, everybody has.
So how would you implement that in your ideal government? How would you implement that?
You would pay for people who have cancer. You pay for their health care.
Oh
A
my
universal
God.
healthcare, any
You're
utopia.
Scottish. Hermione, you're Scottish. You believe in paying for people's healthcare. I thought.
I guess, Brother John, I don't understand what you mean. Was there like something else that I'm not that I'm not seeing?
Well, I mean, how's it gonna be? How is it gonna be paid for? Is the government gonna pay for it, or are you gonna have a private kind of competition going on? I mean, how much of
3% of everybody's
I think that there are certain things
towards
that the government should pay for. I think that certain things that government should pay for. And one of them is education. Another one is health. And there's a third one that I can't think of right now. Oh, and things that are public service. Like, I do think they should pay for roads. It's a benefit for us all. So I think you kind of message the three, which are ways to make sure that goods and things can be, and people can be transported, education for the people, and health care, or health insurance, whatever you want to call it. Yes, I think those are things that government should pay for. Now, is it state-based? Is it federal? Is it? Please don't ask me the specifics. Not yet.
Well, in America, it has to be federal. Otherwise, states would do what they're doing with not initiating Medicaid or whatever you got, you know. And then you've got people in one state getting health care, and people in other states getting shit all, and that's fucked garbage. You know what I mean? Sorry.
So, what are your guys' thoughts, though?
No, I think if it's going to be a utopia, you can have states still, but I think that certain things should be out of the control of the states. I think healthcare should be one of them. I think it just needs to be universal, period. Same with education.
What, let's say a state, the majority of the people in the state don't want the federal program, don't want to abide by it. Why should they have to?
Well, then they can't go to a doctor when they're ill because the state pays for doctors and hospitals, so they can just pray that their ill people get fucking better. And when they die, I think after a generation or two of that, they will start to think, I should send my people to the hospital and pay taxes.
If you're saying, you're basing that question though on like, hey, our coverage sucks, basically, right? Like they're not going to do what I need done.
Or why are you asking?
And are you saying it doesn't suck?
No. I was just saying in general, why would somebody choose not to participate in a universal healthcare system if it pretty much handled all the needs of the people?
Are you crazy? Don't you know what's going on in America? Are you American?
Well, yeah, but we're starting out in a utopia here. We're not talking about America. We're talking about a fresh start.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm talking about the world, you know, and everybody who lives in it, and you live in it. Don't you think everybody in America should have health care? Or do you think that they shouldn't have health care because some people in certain states are more religious than other states, and that they could refuse you health care because of their religious views? And I do believe there's a separation of church and state in America. But, you know, that's just my view of life, you know what I mean?
Wait, okay, Paul, I'm going to mute you for a second if you keep on here, because I want to hear the answer to this question. To Joe's question. Who were you posing it to, Joe?
Oh, who just talked before us that actually
I think it was Cerberus.
It was me.
Cerberus or Doug? Doug. Okay. So Doug.
Oh well, I'm just asking because I mean I know we're dealing with with like a hypothetical fresh start thing, but I'm just asking because you know how to what extent should we or would you each one of you want to make sure that whatever rules you do put in place at the start of this experiment would be democratically backed, essentially? Like would you put in laws that say most of the people under your authority don't like? And if you would, why would you do it? And is it because you know best for the people living under you, or basically it was kind of a specific example of a general question?
Oh, I'm kind of saying, what if most of the people didn't like the idea of universal health care? Would you?
Yeah, or any idea. I just used that as an example. But any idea you might want to enact in your new society, how much would you you know, survey the people that are going to be having to abide by these rules for whether or not they like them?
Right, we kind of talked about that earlier, and how, you know, if you started all over, it would be easier to implement a system where the public had more control, or at least a more daily say-so in how things are ran. Like, imagine a system like the internet where you could go on any time and vote on what is important to you, right, or what issues you agree or disagree with. I don't like these long terms we have in politicians at all. I don't agree on it. I don't, you know. But what if you had some kind of system where the public had more say-so? And then the argument for that is a lot of people say, well, the majority of the public is stupid. Well, that comes down to education again. So
exactly. It all comes down to.
And your government is cutting your education grants every year. So what does that say?
It sounds like healthcare and education needs to be some kind of servitude that's served by the public. They like mandatory, or I don't want to say mandatory, but there has to be some benefit for you wanting to become a teacher and wanting to become a doctor. And the salaries, obviously, especially here in the United States, that we give teachers is just insane. They should be more educated and they should be paid more.
Do you think that maybe the educational system should work on the military system? So when you become a corporal or a sergeant in the military and you get a wage rise, when you go from, like, you know, a provisionary teacher to a teacher to a, you know, head teacher, you know, maybe you should have a wage rise comparable to what the military does.
I'm completely for that, and all kind of work. The better job you do, performance-based wage.
How about we do it like this? If you work in the education system, you work in the civil service system, you're a police officer, you're a firefighter, you're a teacher, you're a doctor. All these professions, you're in the military, you're a citizen, you get to vote. If you want to do business, be my guest.
And I think, like you were saying, that mandatory service, say after you reach a certain level of education and you're getting critical thinking skills, you're getting your math, your reading, some philosophy, whatever, like we were discussing earlier. You reach that level, you serve your government for a couple of years. You might go into a specific interest, and then you might decide to make that a career afterwards and contribute to society that way.
Doesn't it sound a little communist-like? Not that that's wrong, but or very socialist at minimal.
Yeah, I don't think we were talking about monetization there.
Yeah, I didn't say anything about money, but I mean, if it's what we teach our children, then I think it'd probably be okay.
Well, and if you're going to start all over, think about all the little shit jobs that you have right now that we all go through life and probably hold 2 or 3 of them before we finish school or whatever. A lot of that, if you started all over, right, completely blank slate, a lot of those jobs would be automated. In fact, this is the way the future is going anyways. So I think you'd live in a society where big thinkers and more educated people would thrive.
I'm not sure that's true, because in Britain we're moving more towards, you know, outcomes and you know, national health, you know, and healthcare. the more people you save and who survive operations, etc., that means that you're a better doctor, and I would think that that's a pretty good measure. And I would think that if you apply that to police officers, the more sort of interactions they have with the public where they don't shoot someone, but actually bring it down to a level where you can talk to someone, arrest them, find out if they're guilty, and then release them or convict them. I think that would be something good. I'm just saying, the comparison to me is real. Good outcomes from a doctor makes a better doctor, and good outcomes from a police officer. A peace officer, not a police officer. I would think that they should get promotion from that.
I struggle with this one, you guys, because so much of me wants to say that there are these, probably in my head I'm a socialist is what I'm trying to say in a nutshell, but I do believe so much in capitalism because there's this drive, this internal locus of control that drives people to do amazing things because they know that there's a reward in doing so and taking that risk.
I would make a counter argument that most people that did great things didn't do it for the money.
But that's why I call myself a social capitalist.
That's really good, Cerberus. That's really good. That's really good.
I would agree with that, Cerberus.
That is good.
It's because it was their passion.
Right.
Right.
So if you are stuck in this compulsory type thing, how do you ever find your passion?
Well, maybe you have different levels of servitude to the point to where there's a place for most people's passion, right? If you want to be a biochemist, then you go into that field, and that's what you contribute to society. Maybe after you serve your term of mandatory labor for the greater public, then maybe you can go and commercialize, or I don't know. It's just
it wouldn't be a whole life thing. It'd be like Israel. Israel has 2 years. Switzerland has 2 years. They have compulsory civil service.
Right.
Could I just respond to Joseph?
Like going through a liberal arts program, you're trying to get, while you're in school, you're getting a taste of different things, and you know what you're gonna be leaning towards, and your passion and everything, and then you have an opportunity to volunteer in that field somehow.
Could I just please respond to what Joseph said there a minute ago? In Europe, we mostly don't, if it's government-funded experimentation in biology, physics and that. We usually, just let the world know about it. We don't hold it to ourselves because we're not. Well, we didn't used to be, but it's becoming more after Thatcher talked to Reagan. But we used to be, and I think in Scotland we are still that way. When we discover something new, we let the world know about it so that they can actually maybe take the knowledge that we, the small, tiny increment of knowledge we've produced, and then they can add it to what they're doing, and then they can expand it and hopefully discover something that's good for the whole world. But with this privatization thing, where it's only private companies and they can what do you call it? They can license it and all that. It's like then they make the money, and that was not the way that science was supposed to be. But we were supposed to be learning science for the betterment of all mankind. But now it seems that we're in an age of it's all for corporate gain, and then they rule the world, and they're even more powerful than our governments.
You guys, can I try something on for size? I might try and put together some sort of test, questionnaire, something like that would be the emphasis, to find what it is that people are truly passionate about and hopefully marry it to some degree with what they're good at. And I might make their servitude time spent doing that. Ooh, that's creepy. That sounds like The Giver. Okay, maybe not.
Yeah, I think you're better off like if your profession is going to line up with like your service, then that's cool. Go to college, get your degree, come back, do your 5 years or 3 years or whatever it ends up we need, right? But if you want to go, if your passion doesn't line up with civil service, go do 2-3 years on a farm or on city works or be a paramedic or something or an EMT, and then go to college and then do what you want to do.
The only thing that's not beneficial about that is, say you find somebody that's really passionate about a subject, right? Their education was great because of this new system, so they go into their public servitude and they spend 5 years, and basically now they're out of school and now they're using all the knowledge that they've gained to test theories, right? And try to get it right. Well, by the time they're done with their 5 years, there has to be some kind of incentive to keep them just lifetime servitude if that's what they choose. Because, face it, they're going to be even better at what they were doing after that 5-year period.
Can I just answer, just interject here? There's probably 5,000 people a year in Scotland go through medical college, and some of them are just going to turn out to be basically pretty good surgeons. But there's maybe just going to be one or two who become, exceptional. And they will go on and they'll go to other countries and learn specialist stuff that only that country learns at the highest level, and they will become exceptional surgeons. But what I'm saying is, the premise for a country is not to produce one exceptional surgeon. We need people who can do heart and lung and save people from being shot. We need surgeons who know what the shit they're doing,
Okay, I have a question. Wouldn't it just make sense then to take all the societies we live in and just put a 3-year, as Cerberus was calling, mandatory, kind of work for the state?
I was getting that. I was getting to that. I would think that if someone's like in Scotland, your education at that level is free in Scotland, but you pay £9,000 a year in England, and people complain about Scotland letting Scottish students get that free education. But the reason that some people who come from a poor family, who are intelligent enough to learn that stuff and become brilliant surgeons, that's how we get the brilliant surgeons we've got in Scotland, and I think you cannot say that people have to pay for it. They don't have to come from families who can afford it. We need to find the people within our society who are able to perform that function and pay for their education, because we need people like that in our society. You know what I mean?
Paul, and I don't mean to be rude by this, but I was hoping to hear from some other people as well.
Yeah, I like we have a problem here. A lot of college is really expensive here, and we basically blow a ton of money on people that don't do anything with it. I would like to see some sort of system to where they would have to actually do the work first, and then we would let them go to college for free.
They have already done that by proving that they can pass the medical tests and the physical tests and the biology tests that they go through as their 15, 16-year-old in order to get the qualifications to be allowed to apply for college places. You're not going to allow someone who applies for a college place who doesn't have any O levels. I don't know what your comparative thing in America is, but yeah, it would be on merit. It wouldn't be on my dad's rich.
No, we do it on merit too. The problem is everyone. Well, I shouldn't say everyone. Most people that apply for college is good enough to get in somewhere.
Yeah, they may say you have to take basic college math before you can go on to take your further courses, but they'll say, yeah, sure, come on in.
Yeah, I think you misunderstand me. I don't think people who don't have merit should be able to get into a course just because their dad is going to pay £30,000 to get them in. If they failed in the lower classes, through the high school, the dad shouldn't be able to pay for them to go through a public school and get a crappy degree that they can get on the internet. You know what I mean? They can't become a doctor just because their dad's got money. They should have to do it through merit and prove to the system that they are able to do it. You know what I mean? You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, okay. What you mean is, basically, you would only have a public school system, so rich parents couldn't buy their children into special places.
No, I'm not saying they couldn't go through a public school, but they have to pass a national exam, and they can't just get there because somebody's paying money.
I like that. I like that you would have to do it completely on merit and not on your family's money.
Yeah. I was supposed to hit a hashtag before that. That's why.
That's okay. We're all seeing it unfold anyway.
I get it.
Phantom Iron, how you been doing?
Hello, Phantom Lion.
Hi.
Any thoughts on
I've been listening. It's just I've been struggling with Google Plus, and as a result, I've pulled several locks of my hair out of my head. But I'm in here, so this is a tough one.
We've all been there.
Yeah, I'm sure we've all fantasized about if I ruled the world, but I gotta say the last time I realistically thought about this was when I played Fable 3, which is the least favorite of the Fable series. You bring up Fable 3 to any gamer, they're gonna call you a piece of shit, but I think it makes up for all of the gameplay flaws with its story. And the moral of that particular game, at least story-wise, is that you're not going to be able to please everyone. It's just fucking impossible. There's too many of us. We all want something different. Now, I guess since we're all fantasizing here, I don't think any of you want to live in the world where I would like to live in. Like, at all.
Oh, I'm sure I would, because if you believe in Fable and I believe in DZ, I'm going to cut your head off, you know what I mean? With a machete.
It goes kind of back to what I was saying. I don't think human beings are not in any kind of capacitive state to actually live in a utopia at all.
No way, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
You could get a utopia. I mean, it won't be what people think of as a utopia. You just kill everyone that doesn't want to be part of it.
Yeah,
everyone that's left is in a utopia.
There's no such thing as
It's a very selective cult.
The human being is impossible to live in a place where everybody agrees with everybody else. It's just impossible.
That's why I was saying maybe in the future you could subsidize space travel. That way, when these groups decide they don't want nothing to do with you, say, okay, here's your rocket ship. Go find a new planet.
And we point it straight at the sun.
I wish kind of Adam was in here, because he would say, yeah, everybody just have like their own state, their own town. You want to have this kind of lifestyle, then you can choose to live there.
Oh man, that conversation drove me nuts.
Yeah, that works great until you get groups of people so small no one has running water or a sewer system.
Yeah.
Let's face it, though. What makes being human interesting? It's interacting with other humans that don't agree with you. If everybody agreed with you, we'd all be fucking bored.
And with that knowledge in mind is how we should design the system. What's a system we can have that will accommodate a huge variety of different views without everyone wanting to kill
it
each other.
wouldn't be the system where somebody is pointing a gun at my face. So,
Not that.
You need your own personal matrix to plug into to do whatever the fuck you want.
Well, I think there was something right about the U.S. system at the beginning when it was about life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
This is where we started.
Yep.
We keep coming back to the original intent of the Constitution is pretty good. It's just the corruption that has been forced into the system over time.
But that might be a feature, not a bug. I mean,
you're absolutely right.
No, I think it was a feature, and I think the bug came in when you had your own currency, and then certain people grabbed lots of that currency to themselves, and then started to use it to abuse the system. And you need to get you need to get money out of your political system.
Well,
Wait, so can a political system survive without funding?
I think that humanity needs a good old-fashioned apocalypse, like maybe zombie or meteorite or something.
What Bible you're reading?
And I'm serious. Just let me finish.
Well, Phantom, this whole discussion started with starting fresh. So basically,
yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Start fresh, and what I'm talking about is every time there's been some sort of catastrophe or something, we all tend to unite under one banner, under common good of everyone, but that only happens when all of us are in danger collectively.
No, only happens when you're all scared enough to go and bomb and kill other people. Look, Hermione came up with a very pertinent point there. She said, "Do we only have to?" What was the point you said? Can we only have a political system when there's? I think you said money involved or something.
Funding. We didn't start doing income tax until 1911.
Well, can I tell you how it is in Britain? You're not allowed to take money from outside. I don't know what you call it in America, but you've got all these funding people.
Lobbyists.
But it's not just lobbyists; it's all the other cunts who get taxes,
special interest groups,
and then gather money and spend. But in Britain, how long is your political? I mean, fucking people are even talking about 2016 now in America. You know what I mean? We have a 6 week electoral system. It's like nothing can be done until the 6 weeks before the election. And then you get every political party gets 5 minutes free on the BBC, ITV, Channel 4. They get 5 minutes each. You know what I mean? Over that 6 weeks, and they can choose what day they broadcast their political free, 5 minute broadcast, and they're only allowed to spend a certain amount of money, and their elections last about 6 weeks. Okay, maybe.
What? They still have a certain amount of money.
Yeah, but they're only allowed to spend that money within a 6 week period. They're not allowed to spend it over like 2 years or 4 years. My God, people are already campaigning for 2016 in America. And it's fucking more than 2 years away. What the fuck's going on? You people in America are crazy. Money isn't speech. It's money. You know what I mean? I'm sorry. A corporation isn't a person. It's a corporation. I mean, it's like.
What I would do for certain. Can I say what I wouldn't do? I would not allow for businesses to become people. I would have given them their own social security number or whatever, tax ID. The second thing is, I don't know what the best decision is. Do you federalize a bank, or do you leave it like our bank is, where it's independent, but it's like part of the federal government somehow?
It really isn't.
I wasn't talking about a bank. I'm talking about people who are they shouldn't be able to spend any money before the 6 weeks of the first 6 weeks before the election.
Okay, but that doesn't go to the point that I just raised. Can somebody answer the point in terms of how banks should run in their society?
Well, you do understand that the
They
federal
should be-
government doesn't really run ours, right?
Yeah, but it's so in bed with it that, like,
There's the Treasury,
Mm-hmm.
and then there are banks. A bank is people you pay to hold on to your gold. And
No,
that's-
you're
they
missing
they
the
can
whole
do
point.
other things, but originally that's all a bank was. I mean, a private lender.
Yeah, but in America, you
There was a
don't have
treasury.
banks.
Hold on.
You
There
don't
was a
have-
treasury. There was no central bank, and that meant that if one bank failed, another bank didn't have to fail. You know, and just because one bank did more than the other doesn't mean the other one. You know, there were private banks. Anybody could open a bank.
We're talking about the banking system in general, not
Yeah, it needs
Yeah,
to be
one second, let me-
individualized, and the only thing that should be federal is the treasury, and that's it.
Let me answer Hermione's question. Imagine you and your family, you know, the only way you guys can get your food and whatnot, because none of you are farmers, you're all making a living a different way, is through a certain dollar. We can just use the US dollar. Now, would you want, I mean, you probably at least semi-trust me not to starve out your family, but let's imagine there's someone else that's in control of how much that money's worth, and at any moment they could decide to tank that.
right.
Would you want that? Would you want them to have that ability?
But don't they currently have that kind of?
They do have that ability. Wouldn't you rather have at least some say-so through political power? Other
And
than,
how
other
is
than
that
nothing?
how is that going to happen? When the people who have got billions of pounds, their speech, because money is speech, is more than your speech who have got no money. So how do you speak out against power when power has all the power? Because
Okay,
they've
let's-
got lots of money.
Wait,
In America, we have things called conventions, which is where you can get your
Please,
state and other
don't
states to.
bullshit me.
Paul,
The Supreme
Paul,
Court
I'm not.
has
That's
told-
serious.
hold on, guys. Paul, for a minute, wait a second. Cerberus was addressing Ermine's comment, so let them kind of finish that thought first, all right? Thanks. Go ahead.
So what you're saying is, would I rather some sort of overseer or ombudsman that's not somebody who's just greedy do it? God, if you show me that person that exists or that thing, yeah, I'd love that.
Well, no, it's not so much that. It's that would you want to have at least some sort of control over the person making decisions other than just having it completely private?
Yes.
Well, there you go. You want a federal bank.
You want what we got.
No. We do not have a federal.
We don't have a federal bank.
That's the illusion that most people believe.
We have the Fed, which is not controlled by the federal government.
No, it's not.
By the private banks, who are the only people who sit on the federal bank's executive.
Do you really think that a federal bank would attract a different kind of loony than the ones that they already attract? Come on, so what? They're paid by taxpayers. They're still going to be corrupt, controlling freaks.
Yeah, but the difference is whenever a business wants extra money, they at least have to get some sort of okay.
But let me ask you, isn't that what they do in China? And doesn't that just create a ruling class of politicians as opposed to a ruling class of business people?
Haven't you ever
Exactly.
studied the European idea of central bank, where it's independent from the political system, which you are not? You know what I mean? It's
Actually,
not
that's what we
under the
got.
banks, it's a central bank that is independent from all the other stuff, supposedly.
So in China, you have it controlled by the politicians. That, to me, can be a train wreck. Here you have it controlled by somebody private. That's a train wreck.
Because ultimately what it comes down to is if the people aren't willing to be proactive, then no matter what you do, nothing's going to work.
We can't get our gold back. It's gone.
Yeah, but the gold standard won't do anything.
I agree with that.
It's gone. That's why it won't do anything. They made it illegal. to have
No.
gold.
The gold standard is just as meaningless as anything else.
No, it's not. You can't forge gold.
Yeah, it is.
You can't make gold in a lab, like adding a keystroke to add extra zeros to an
I
account.
think you
can't
should
do that with
talk to
gold.
the
There's a
Scottish
limited amount of
people
money.
about that, because we print money in Scotland under the Scottish, Bank of Scotland and I think there's another bank that prints, and we deposit gold in the Bank of England so that we can print that money, and then we're looking for independence, and they're saying, oh, well, you can't be independent because your money would be worth nothing. Well, if we became independent, we would have to say to the bank, and see all that gold that we deposited there for all the money we printed,
but we're
give
not
it back to Scotland, and then we put it in our central bank.
Here's the problem: we're mixing up with how the world works now with our ideal utopia.
So I wanna ask Cerberus. So Cerberus, what would you suggest as we use as money in your government? What would you use as money?
It would just be money. It wouldn't be based on anything.
It wouldn't be backed by anything.
It would. Why would it need to be? The imaginary idea that money would be backed by something it's just not true.
Not anymore.
Like right now, no, gold's meaningless. It's only worth what people think it's worth.
Well, the coin.
What I would have is money in circulation proportional to population and set prices for, luxury goods and necessary things.
People don't understand what money is.
This is so creepy. I cannot believe how much I agree with Cerberus. That's all I'm saying.
But the idea is, okay.
Can I just explain what I think money is? Money is nothing more than a bit of paper that you can exchange for goods or services that you can promise you will provide for someone who has asked you to give them those goods or services.
That's exactly what gold is too.
Exactly. Gold is no different from paper money. That's where the beauty of the invention by the Chinese of paper money, and by the way, the first European bank ever to print paper money was a German bank, and it was a Scottish person who was in charge of that bank at the time, before the Bank of England even understood what it was.
A good thing, you guys.
Paper money is just a thing you exchange for goods or services.
Paul, we got it. But Cerberus brought up a good point. What if you backed your money based on your people?
Exactly, and that's what Scotland is trying to promote. Because sick people, they can't work, they can't fulfill the produce or the exports that we have made as this country for other countries, and therefore sick people don't produce. In America, you've got half of your population can't even go to a doctor or go to a dentist or an eye doctor. What the fuck? You know what I mean? That means there's a lot of people who could be fixed and be working and fully functional, but you just don't give them access to that. Why?
We're still going off
the... everyone access to eye doctors, teeth doctors.
Tangents, Paul. You are going
we're going off. Yes, exactly. We're talking about a new society here, not the existing crap that is here.
Yeah, I just want to clarify. It's not really.
Yeah, but
the idea.
Just looking to a new future where we will look at.
Okay, Cerberus, what were you saying?
The idea is right now, and I mean, even the money isn't. How do I want to put it? You want to say money's backed by gold or money's backed by the promise of the government. No, the value of money isn't from what it's based off of. It's what it can buy, which is why essentially money should be based off of set prices for individual products.
It's real easy to say that now that we have by force all the gold taken away from the people. We have no gold. I mean, gold worked for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. It's not a bad system. It worked all around the world. It was ubiquitous. It could not be counterfeited, and there was a limited amount of it on the earth. So it had to stay in circulation in order for it to be valuable. It doesn't matter about what it buys. It has nothing to do with it. It's the fact that that's what money is gold and silver.
It was actually counterfeited
all the time. You can say, well, I'll just print paper and we'll have it as much as a governing body or a piece of paper says it's worth, by what we feel the people are worth. I mean, how much is a human being worth? Can you put enough gold to a human being's life? How can you do that with money, let alone an entire society?
Well, I mean, if you're going to ask the moral question, how much is someone worth? I don't know. I mean,
Exactly.
I mean, how much should food be? How much should food cost? And putting a price on food is putting a worth on a person.
Well, Cerberus, in your society, if you set prices on every, set price for everything, and there's only a limited amount of money in circulation, how doesn't that kind of ruin the incentive to want to prosper? And
Why? How? I mean, you can still get money by doing more.
Yeah, you can work, 5, 6, jobs if you have to. It doesn't matter. We'll have a base poor, and we'll make sure that most of the people stay there so everyone's fed equally. And if you get a chance to make a little more, they'll let you for a little while. As long as we keep that base poor. There's no freedom.
Actually,
there's no liberty when you have a controlled economy. There's no freedom. I know we think that freedom is bad.
I don't know how controlled that would be. I mean, your ability to make money is entirely up to how much you want to work and how skilled you are. What I'm saying is you want to make sure that that money that someone gets will always be able to provide them with the necessities.
I mean, I hate to sound dark here, and I'll only speak for myself because I do realize that my opinions piss people off. But in about 100 years, after I'm dead, those who will remember me, yeah, sure, I'm going to die one day, and everyone who knew me will probably forget me after a few decades or so. But when they die, and anyone who they've told about me dies, I will be forgotten. Basically, I am worth nothing. I die, the universe doesn't give a shit. So human beings, just in general, it really is up to you what a person is worth. Me, I know what I'm worth. I'm really only worth anything because I say so. And realistically, I acknowledge that one day time will defeat me and I'll be gone. So what's the fucking point? I guess the only real reason why I'm here is to, I guess, see it all end, and maybe I'll get to whisper in humanity's ear, "I told you so," and then laugh maniacally. So that's just my opinion.
That's depressing.
Yeah, I know.
I just like to point out that cause and effect is how much the universe cares about you. Like, were you born? Did you eat food? Did you take up space? That affects everyone's life around you, and in turn affects everyone that they know, and onward and onward and onward.
Mm-hmm.
It is basically
comforting.
No, I'm just saying it's basically impossible to be born and not have an effect.
Oh.
Yeah, but that fact alone isn't exactly helpful, I don't think, to Phantom.
No.
Well, I mean, it's more than absolutely nothing.
What good does that help me?
I don't know. What's your motivation?
Well, basically, I can hear it. I can hear it.
I don't have one. That's the weird thing about me, is that I don't have an emotion. I don't have any motivations. I just do things. I just survive, and then I live my life day by day, and every now and then I have an idea, well, I want this, and I may spend a month or two going after it, but after that, it's on to the next thing. My life is completely meaningless, and really is up to me whether or not it's exciting or not. I quite often, ladies and gentlemen, I am told that I was born in the wrong era, that I would be right at home in like medieval Japan or something like that. Any where I can wield a sword or a bow and arrow. Basically, all technology is gone, and all I have is my wits and my will to help me survive. And if I can't survive Mother Nature's wrath, then so be it. I die. But I do know that in a world like that, I would thrive, and very rightfully so.
Let's not get into
Why don't you join a commune?
Let's not get into the fantasy of stuff we've seen on TV and think that that's where we're not living in the world of The Walking Dead. Let's try and build a better society.
I haven't seen The Walking Dead. These are just things that I think about on a daily basis.
Okay.
I've never seen a single episode. No bullshit.
I'm wondering how this has to do with our wonderful society that we were once building, and now we've gone on a tangent. I'm just curious.
It's kind of difficult for me to fantasize about that because I know what world that I'm capable of living in, but at the same time, I'm not going to decide for everybody else how they should live. I think that's bullshit.
But this isn't. We're not deciding for everyone else. We're just saying, in your utopia, what would it look like? And in your utopia, technology, it sounds like, would have less of an emphasis.
Yeah, okay. So if we're just going with the whole fantasy utopia thing, that's fine. Yeah, I think technology would be basically obliterated.
Yeah. So, Phantom, are your parents in the next room? You don't have any guns or anything.
Keep interrupting, Paul. You gotta stop interrupting, please.
Okay, but I am interested in what he has to say. I'll be quick, though. Alright. Basically, the kind of world that I envision would be basically no technology. That way, I believe everyone would have equal footing. No one would be ahead of somebody else. I do believe that farming would be a definite priority, like food sources that are healthy, don't give you diabetes and all that other crap, but at the same time can maintain your body to the point where your survival never has to be really worried about. Kind of live off the land. And another thing is that, I mean, I'm trying to say this without talking about the real world, so that's why it's a little difficult. But
there's got to be some good in the real world to reflect on.
Yeah, I mean, what the hell? You wouldn't be talk to us if that was the world we lived in, because the internet would be gone. It wouldn't be here. We'd be running with fucking horses. What the fuck are we talking about here? That's not a world.
Oh, I mean, I have a set of skills, right? And I know that with some time, I can pass on these sets of skills to another person, and those sets of skills can help that other person survive. And it's spectacular. The fact that someone can teach someone else this is how to do something is amazing. And I think if we incorporate that into our survival in this fantasy utopia, then I don't think that we would be entirely unhappy. I think we, at that point, would get to all shape our own destinies, and we all have
you're going to get a point here. I'm getting to it. Talk about it and then shit that it could never be because we're past it.
Please let me finish. I'm like fucking 10 seconds away. Okay, so basically, with this set of skills that we all have, I think we would all have equal opportunity for survival. And I don't think we would be entirely unhappy with that. I think with that, everyone
has a chance because we've got this smart and nice.
Oh, for fuck's sake, man. Can you let me fucking finish?
Well, get to the fucking point, man. What's your vision of the future?
You're fucking not letting me.
Yeah.
So you really got to stop that.
Go ahead, Phantom.
So basically, no one. I'm trying to remember what I'm saying, but he kept interrupting me. But okay. Basically, I don't think we're innately born to just fucking be rageful assholes. I mean, I guess we are, but I think if everyone were given the chance to fight for their own survival and everyone can survive on their own, I think that would be not necessarily a perfect world, but a very good world where everyone is entitled to their own survival. And if we want to help each other to do that, if you want to help another person, then great. If you would rather do that alone, then that's awesome. But
very libertarian.
You're going back to the tribal world.
Very libertarian.
I guess you could say that, yeah.
Even beyond tribal, it's about the individual. That's liberty.
Which is fine. If that's your version of utopia, that's great. I think most of us would like to see way more of that, and I think cutting out technology for most of us would be kind of
horrible.
I just wonder, in the tribal world, wouldn't you get people who don't have the same physical prowess as others, who would use their wits to create technology to get ahead of others? Like, somebody's going to come up with the wheel. Because they're like, I'm not strong enough to carry that by myself. Someone's going to come up with what I mean?
Okay, so, alright, in this fantasy utopia, are we starting fresh from this world, or is this just, we're playing God and we're...
Yeah, let's say we all hopped on a rocket ship, landed on a new planet, and you're starting fresh.
Yeah, we're starting from the bottom up.
Okay, bottom up. Phantom wants to be a caveman. Not necessarily.
Well, we're not...
Cavemen, they had their flaws, and it depends on what type of caveman you're talking. How far back in history you're willing to.
Well, no, not so much.
We're not talking about being cavemen. We are others who land on a new planet and then.
I just thought that was funny. Because caveman is a very loose term. There are several different types of quote-unquote cavemen. They weren't all that bright. It took them a very long time to discover
I'd love to see their SATs compared to your SATs, or you would.
Oh my gosh, that is not nice, Paul.
It's I don't care because I can't understand what he's saying anyway, so.
Me neither.
Really, you can't understand a Scottish accent?
If he's being rude to me, then that's a gigantic fail, because if you're going to be rude to somebody, it
it's just you're taking forever to say anything, and it's like blah, 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 blah. And like, come and say something, you know what I mean? Get your point.
Yeah, we could kind of skip the caveman kind of thing. We just kind of, bottom up, say, from the level of intelligence we have right now.
I would appreciate the way the Native Americans lived. They were very, very highly intelligent. They utilized a lot of forms of simplified tools, weaponry. It wasn't that sophisticated, but it worked. I do believe some of them utilized the wheel. Some of them didn't. Of course, a lot of them used horses. Of course. And I just admire that lifestyle.
I think most of America would disagree with you there.
If I could interrupt just for a second, I'm taking off. I just wanted to thank you all for a wonderful hangout.
I'm about to go.
Have a wonderful
I'm a bit done here. If I'm going to listen to this,
have a really good night.
Hour and a half. I'm done, mate.
Thanks for the invite, John.
Grant, yeah, good. I figured you wanted to say, chime in on here the idea of living like Indians. I mean.
Oh no, this has just gone beyond bizarre for me. We went from productive to primitive. We had, the conversation was, I thought, was moving towards a good working system, and now we're, at Hunger Games. I don't know how we made that transition.
Well, it's just, allowing just a lot. Well, everyone has their opinion on how they're going to run their government. So,
Sure.
try to give everybody their chance to
I think if I were to pick an enlightened society, because that's what we're talking about, this vision is in all mankind. Every society has one. Has a vision of an enlightened society, whether it be Camelot, whether it be Egypt, whether it be the Forbidden City, whether we call it Forbidden City now, whether it be even the Aztecs. They all had visions of an enlightened society.
But I think we can look now, though, and at least say that there's some things we could do without.
Sure.
Smallpox, syphilis.
Sure.
The standard diseases that most people pick up over a history of time, without any kind of technology to combat that.
I kind of have a cross between the Earth of Star Trek. Now, I'm not talking ships and aliens. I'm talking about the way they treat their economy. They've eliminated greed. They've eliminated hunger. They've practically eliminated disease. They've embraced technology. It's clean. The Earth is considered Eden. That's what everybody calls it. It's basically Eden. The way that if you look at a Star Trek Earth, not a Star Trek universe, but the way they run Earth, I think that combined with maybe a little Shambhala and Old West, we spread out a bit. If you do build a city, you have to have. I would base cities off of the Torah, where you have a city where the people live and congregate and whatnot and do their business and trade, and then you have a section of the city that surrounds that is there simply to be beautified, not to be utilized by man in any way, but simply beautified by man. And then on the outer part of that is where you plant your crops and have your animals.
That sounds like Boulder, Colorado.
Well, that's kind of Torah-based. What I just described there was very Torah.
Can I ask one question? When I join someone else's hangout, I typically get into this don't be a dick mood because I'll be honest, I'm a cruel, awful, horrendously asshole-ish individual in general. And I go in with the attitude, don't be a dick. This is a nice discussion. And, well, basically my question is, what the fuck was that guy's problem?
There's lots of peoples that don't like people talking with lots of commas in their sentences. That's really what his problem was, is that you were speaking with lots of commas.
I just think his problem may have been that you were speaking more than he was.
Wait, say that again.
I think for like 5 minutes, he's just a talker, and you were talking more than he was, so that's what was frustrating him.
I don't get that about Paul. I don't see that in him.
Okay, I was just trying to make a joke, but it wasn't funny.
Oh, I follow. I'm sorry.
And I have to say that Phantom Lion, I actually don't believe any of that stuff about you. I think you're a beautiful, inspiring, outwardly intriguing person, and I don't know that you entirely believe all that about yourself, but I'll just leave it at that on a positive note.
Well, thank you. I try to be as concise as possible, but when you're describing a whole new world, of course you're gonna fucking take long. I mean, no matter what you believe, whether God did it or Big Bang, whatever, it took a reasonable amount of time for us to get to the point we are today, and that involves a whole lot of thought, whether you're talking about intelligent design or just masturbating all over the cosmos. It takes some fucking time, so if we're going to discuss this, even in a fantasy setting, of course I'm going to take a long fucking time. A lot of people have taken a long time to describe their universes here. I've been listening. But ever since Paul came in, and I've been listening from start to finish, when he came in, since he came into him leaving, he didn't have a single coherent fucking thought to contribute to what you guys are saying. And I know that I'm no better, but it's very difficult for me to think outside of the shitty reality that we have unless I'm writing a story of some kind. But it is what it is.
This is a little beside the point, but I just want to tell you that you gave me something to put on my bucket list, which is to masturbate on Mars.
That is not where that analogy.
I know, but I mean, it's put the idea in my head.
He's being a little schoolboy right now.
I hope that I genuinely hope that you get to do that.
Cerberus, I'm going to have to kind of half agree with you on something real quick here, if I may. I don't agree that the gold system is meaningless, but at this point, we don't have gold. There is no gold, so we have to find a system gold-free. Gold is nothing but an adornment. It's no longer money. So we do have to find, I do want to make that clear that I will agree with the forward thought of that, is that what are we going to do without, now that we don't have gold, now that this system is gone from the earth forever? At least until maybe Mashiach, but that's a different story.
You have oil.
Nah.
Oil or gold doesn't have value to me.
Well, I want to be very careful because I didn't really mean that gold was meaningless. I just wanted to point out that it's as meaningless as anything else you want to base money off of.
Yeah.
But meaning it's equal.
Gotcha.
So to use something like Bitcoin, would that be something like you would go towards?
Bitcoin isn't money; it's a stock.
Hey, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Who is that?
It's me. Son, I just got in here.
Yeah, Mantra. How you doing?
Welcome, Mantra.
Yeah, Bitcoin isn't backed by anything, and it's
That's
not.
the beauty of it.
No, that's my point. Is it's not backed by anything, and it's not. It can't really buy much. It's
Right
really
now.
just its value. It's right now. Really, its value right now is
Okay,
based
but
off how much
let's say this
someone's
is the
willing
new,
to pay for it.
Right, let's say this is a new utopia, though, and so a system like that is the main system that you're paying for stuff. What are the flaws in a system like that that regulates itself?
It's a digital currency.
Deflation. Deflation's worse than inflation.
No, well, I would even say access to capital then, because it has a limited supply, right?
Bitcoin actually has a cap built into it. Eventually, all the Bitcoins in the Bitcoin universe will be mined, and then you will only be able to trade them.
Right. So my problem with it is, what if you never get access to a Bitcoin? You have no money?
Well, yeah, we're not... Right, so right now the way you earn Bitcoins is by spending money on electricity and computing power. So obviously, maybe a system like Bitcoin is part of the solution, but maybe the way that it's created or given out or however is not the way to go.
Well, since it's a digital currency, like, what about hackers and stuff?
Yep. Can't hack gold.
Right, well, the only way Bitcoin so far has been hacked is by people taking all of their Bitcoin and throwing it in these third-party reserves, and then they hike away with their Bitcoins.
So that's a bank.
Right, but I guess most people don't realize...
I have a quick question so I can follow. What the hell is Bitcoin?
Oh boy, oh boy.
I'm totally lost. I've heard of it, I just don't know how the fuck or what the fuck.
I can explain it pretty simply. It's a electronic currency that exists only on electrical devices. Right now, I think you could make a electronic account, and it'll give you a serial number to put on a card so you can trade the cards. But that's all it is.
There's been coins
it's
too.
electronic currency.
Yeah, as long as you have the code that goes along with the wallet that has funds in it, then you could turn it into a physical object by simply having that code physically. It wouldn't, you know what I mean?
Like, one of the benefits of Bitcoins is not controlled by the banking system.
Yes, and it's publicly backed by a public ledger that keeps it balanced. Therefore, anybody trying to hack the ledger will be found out because there's copies of the ledger all over the place.
But I would say about that, your perceived advantage is also a disadvantage.
Alright.
Elaborate, Cerberus.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
please
if
elaborate on that.
Yeah, if there's no one really to control the overall system, it can basically go wherever.
Well, what
without
do you mean?
anyone being
There's
able to
rules
stop it.
written into it to control itself. The only downside is if somebody had over 50% of the Bitcoin computing power in the world. That means, because the way Bitcoin polices itself is the way you compute to create new Bitcoins is by checking the ledger for its validity, right? That's the way it polices itself.
But
So
I'm
if
not really
somebody
talking about making fake ones. I mean, the central bank doesn't make fake money. It makes more real money. So these are different problems.
Right.
The problem is, I mean, if you don't want anyone to control the whole system, that's an advantage in that, I mean, it would avoid some corruption. But then once Bitcoin goes down a bad road, it's just basically gone. There's no one to bring it back.
Wait, well, hold
If
on.
we
Hold
go
on.
back
I'm
to
confused. So is this like theoretical dollars? Is that what it is?
There's a value based on Bitcoin right now, depending on mostly how hard it is to obtain them, because they're mined. You use computer power to compute mathematical equations, and your award is Bitcoin.
Okay. Sounds very similar to the stock market.
I don't think it's a good idea. Because if the computers or the internet goes down on a large scale, it's like going to affect a lot of people.
Well, right, but we're talking about a utopia world here. You know, we started all over. Presumably, we have a really good infrastructure, yada yada.
Oh, okay.
I think
By
the
the way-
only real fair way to do it is to have maybe not fixed prices, but maybe maximum prices for products, and then keeping the amount of money in circulation proportional to the amount of people living.
So it's backed by people. It goes back to being backed by people.
Bitcoin would actually fare
Yeah.
better than the current currency if there were like a massive computer die-off, because every single Bitcoin user has a Bitcoin database that has a record of every single transaction, but only a few computers have financial records of US dollars.
I mean, you could still have physical dollars.
You
And
can
that
still
will
have physical,
survive
but
any.
that's
you can
like
have
less
physical
than 1%
Bitcoin too.
No, but his complaint was it could survive some sort of technological apocalypse.
Right, and Bitcoin has they've actually made physical copies. There's 3 or 4 physical copies in the world of the Bitcoin ledger.
Yeah,
just
but
in
if you
case.
don't have the electronical devices, you can never guarantee if they were there or not.
Is there any other way to trade without money besides bartering? Because we keep going back to the solve of needing money, and that.
Money was, you have the money to make it easier to trade back and forth.
But is there a better system than money?
Yes.
What?
You work just for the purpose of making other people's lives better.
What?
Well, there's already a system that's well, I don't know, not quite, but there's been a system in place for, I'd say, a few million years now, where if you're sexy enough, then people will be attracted to you. But oh, hold on, you have to pay a price. If you want to have the sexy, you must pay. Prostitution. Society based on prostitution. Let's make it happen. Let's fucking make it happen.
Okay, but you guys, I'm serious though. Like, if we can get out of.
Hey, male prostitutes too. Okay, this isn't just a female thing. But what if I want to be a prostitute? What if I want to fucking smell my ass?
There is no like legit way, well, at least this. I don't know. Without money or some type of currency, I don't really see it happening.
What if you paid by, what was that movie, In Time? And how you transacted and how the value of you was how many years you had to live or minutes.
Well, that movie. That
That's
was
not
pretty
fair to
wild.
so many people.
Time was currency.
Time? No, that's what I'm wondering. Is time currency? What if
That's-
time was
I don't think so.
Movie.
I think time definitely plays a factor in how we use money in real life.
It's value, but it's not currency.
Why is it not currency? Because it's unlimited?
Well, you
Well,
can't.
it would be limited because there'd only be so much time every person on the world could have left. Not
Precisely.
counting new people, huh?
Precisely.
Well, I mean, you have a certain time where you have to pay a debt off. You have a certain time where you have to, I guess, pay for certain things, or let's say you have a certain time to arrive to work to make the money, and you get paid by the hour, or you get salary.
But
So
I'm just
yeah,
saying, what if, forget the movie In Time or whatever the heck that movie was. What if
okay.
everybody was allocated, let's say that they just knew the average lifespan was 75, I'm making this up, and you were given $75,000 times 2, okay, in your life. 150,000, not dollars, but time units, right? And you could spend this time units on, and let's say a meal was worth 1/100th or 1,000th of a pence, you know, something like that. You had things that were just valued on time, and you would just pay for those time units based on your average lifespan.
What if you spent more than you know, and you had time left to live?
Yeah, and what about poor people that don't have as much time to live, maybe, or...
Why would poor people not have as much time to live? You're given the same credits. Everyone's given the same number of credits. It's how you use it.
No, I'm saying you become poor. Say you wind up, say someone who spends it unwisely, and then they outlive how much they were given.
That's like communism, if you ask me.
Then they die.
Then they
And
die.
then we just shoot them? You would just shoot them clean?
Time's up, buddy.
That's what happens in the movie. I just wonder. To me, everyone always talks about time being the most valuable resource that we have.
Mm-hmm.
And
If you're thinking of a utopia, though, I don't think you can think of like people in individual units of time. I think an actual utopia would plan for the future. And if you're going to base stuff on the average lifespan of a human, you're not thinking of how is humanity going to survive thousands of years.
Millions.
Yeah, exactly, or even longer. I don't know.
maybe I think we need to get off of this notion of a material thing valuing ourselves, because to me that's the crux of materialism.
I'm already off that shit. At the beginning, the first thing I said was that I'm worth nothing.
Well, people are worth talents and skills. I think that's a better way. Like, you know, you got certain people who can build houses and stuff like that. Certain people farm.
So what do you do? Go off like a reputation system and say this doctor has saved a lot of lives, so therefore these people, they've given the thumbs up, so he's got 1 million votes, therefore he's worth more.
No, I don't think it should be like that.
A number of likes will be your currency.
Yes, there you go.
Likes.
So if you're a better human being, you will live better.
There you go. The better human being you are, the more likes you get.
Yes.
I can actually kind of get behind that.
I can't. I could not get behind that.
Well,
I bet Hitler had lots of Germans that liked him.
It's a slippery slope, because what if you are a doctor that saves a lot of people, but what if you're like Dr. House and you're a complete asshole?
Well, who cares, right? You can be a complete asshole yet still give people a better quality of life.
Yeah, I don't care about the assholeness of people.
And I don't think a mathematician has to be popular with people in person, but if he solves problems that helps them live their lives longer, then they're going to like him. Maybe not personally. I don't want to talk to this guy, but yeah, he's cool.
We'll give him a standard number of likes for like each successful surgery, and then he gets extra likes for personality.
No, you can't give him a standard. You can't give him a standard because they may botch a few. So for those, they can't get any points, right? The people got to award them.
Wait, aren't we basically just having a money system except for calling it dollars, we're calling it likes?
Yeah, exactly. But
It's reputation based.
we should just use Facebook likes as our
Facebook currency.
And that would be pretty poor, because I only have like around 160 or something like that.
Well, you wouldn't care, because in your utopia, you could be poor and just shoot like your meals and stuff.
True, very true.
You know, you can actually already live in your utopia, Phantom. Give up all the
There's
stuff.
a place in Montana.
Well, I don't know. It's definitely a sacrifice that I would have to make, but I would still
I think
have
you
to
just want the rest of us to live in your utopia with you.
No. Fuck no. I can't realistically force another person to accept my point of view on a particular lifestyle choice that I would have preferred to be born in. So,
Let me ask a weird question. Wasn't there a time, like, I can't remember where, Denmark, where everything was backed by marigolds?
Miracles?
Marigold.
Marigold, the flower.
Tulips.
I think you're thinking of the they had a economic bubble on
Tulips.
tulips, yeah.
Tulips, yeah.
But their currency wasn't based off it. They got insanely expensive, and then the value plummeted.
I thought their currency was backed by it. Okay.
I thought it was okay.
I have a question. Is the hour of a surgeon's time worth any more than an hour of the guy who built the scalpel or built his shoes?
Yes.
I don't think so.
I would say they're worth pretty close to the same because the doctor couldn't do his job without the scalpel.
But don't you have to take the scarcity into account? Like how many people? There are lots of people that can make scalpels, but how many can actually remove a brain tumor?
What do you mean, lots of people who make scalpels?
Well, scalpels would be automated, right? Let's face it, if we're in a futuristic kind of utopia, wouldn't...
I'm not saying futuristic. I'm just asking a question. Is the hour of a doctor's time worth any more than the hour of the man who made the bed?
Can I give a report that? The reason I say yes is because the hours of schooling that doctor sacrificed to become that doctor.
What about the guy who took all that time to learn how to wield tool and die set to make scalpels?
He didn't take 15 years of his life to do it.
Well, let's just do it like this. If you
Are
want,
you sure?
What
about the time it took for him to get there?
Well, wait a second. Let's just say that if a doctor went through all that schooling and he's really concerned about him getting paid so much more than the person making the scalpel, he's doing it for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
He probably shouldn't be a doctor.
Yeah, but you need all the gears
Yep.
in the machine.
That's why doctors are drug whores now.
No, I disagree. I just think there's certain things that take a long time, investment, and it could be a passion. I'm not going to doubt that, but there are things that should be paid more.
So while that guy's going to school, who's paying for his lunch?
He is, or his parents.
His parents. So 12 years of school, his parents have to pay if he wants it? I mean, what's he doing? Who's paying the teacher? Who's printing the books?
That's the thing about money.
Is the hour of a doctor's life worth any more than the hour of anybody else on the planet?
Currency.
I don't think so. And if you want to gauge it by time, I think that's a perfectly simple, fair economic way to do it.
Yeah, I think if currency were time in my idea, then no, it's not worth more.
Oh, you're going by that basis. It makes sense. Using a time currency.
So you're saying, say, a brain surgeon would be getting paid the same as someone who, like a janitor? Would be how it would work?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If it was time currency, absolutely.
I wouldn't have any currency.
Then we'd be in the dark ages. We'd be living next to each other. We'd be living.
I would try to base a more self-sufficient society.
I don't know. I mean, if everyone just did things to help each other and put into the system, instead of worrying about what they were going to get out of it, everyone could pull out of it.
Yeah.
If we could all just get along.
Essentially, what we teach our children to share and get along. Can't we do that?
Please. This will hack some people off, but I don't believe in capitalism. Everyone just jerks themselves off on a daily basis about capital. By the way, I despise socialism, so I'm not. I'll say that first.
I don't believe any ism
off about this capitalism notion, and when you look at it, capitalism is an abject failure under liberty. It has achieved exactly the opposite of any kind of liberty or free society.
So
this is the result of capitalism. Government is capital. You are capital. You know, that's what it's become.
What would you have?
Huh?
If not capitalism, not socialism, what would be your utopia?
Absolute free trade, and if you you would use gold, very similar to the Coinage Act of 1810 in this country.
I understand.
It would be a universal. This much gold is worth. If you want to, like, you would use that one base for the world. So if you wanted to travel and you didn't want to take your chicken to the temple or whatever, I'm going by Tor here, so forgive me. But if your chicken isn't going to make it across the desert to be fit enough to offer God, you could take money and then buy a chicken there, and then offer it, and then have your meal. Excuse me, or whatever. You know what I mean?
A lot of people, they like the gold idea. I don't think it's a bad idea. I just don't have any personal value in gold. Like, it's heavy. Like, collecting a lot of it just really will weigh you down. You can't really travel with it on a large scale.
But the other problem with gold is why fuck that? I just mine it then.
Exactly. But that would take work. A lot of work to mine gold.
I would just take gold coins and take lead slugs and mint the gold around it.
Oh, that's what they do in a lot of banks around the world, big banks.
Well, Idol Smasher, in your government, then would you pay the doctor the same amount of gold as the janitor?
Well,
I think in my system, I'm not sure that I would not. I don't think he's going to be doing brain surgery 8 hours a day. And with the technology and the science that we have, a human being, society only needs to work about 4 hours a day. All humans. We don't need to be putting in this overtime. It will work itself out. With our technology, I've seen this study. It was a lecture, and it was years ago, and I apologize for not having a source cited. But he was talking about that with our technology and science and what we do with farming, especially if everyone was growing their own food, or anything, even if they weren't, the technology only allows for people to work about an average of 4 hours a day, 3 to 4 hours a day. The rest can be done to study or screw, play chess, whatever. It's a freer society, I think. And yeah, I'm not so sure that the doctor's time would be worth any more than a janitor's. An hour of a doctor's time is worth no more than the hour of a janitor's.
So then there'd be no room really for luxury then in your government, in your world. I mean, what's the incentive? Everybody's getting paid the same. What's the incentive of?
Well, you would be free to pursue your interests. If you were a painter and people like your paintings, why wouldn't you make money on that? What if you were a musician or if you're a builder, or a mechanic? Maybe you just like fixing stuff and going home, like I said, it would be an absolute free society. It would be an idolatry-free society.
Would people be allowed to spend their gold on whatever they wanted? Like for example, if I wanted to buy like some whiskey that was like a little more expensive than like the standard whiskey, would I be allowed to do that with my gold?
Why not? It's free. I said absolute free trade. I would not have like corporations. There would be no income tax. If you live in a community, I think communism works in small numbers. And then you will pay for the school that will educate your kids. If you want to put up a city hall, you put up a city hall, and everybody contributes to keeping that going. If you want a centralized sewage system, everyone takes a little bit and pays for it. I got nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I have nothing wrong with buying. If you want to buy a nice bunch of whiskey and put off buying something else next week or whatever, hell yeah, drink up, baby.
But if everybody's getting paid the same, how could one whiskey bring more money than another?
You discussed free trade as well. So if I wanted to buy something and I don't necessarily have gold, but I have something else of value, could I do that?
The Catman's got it.
Okay.
It'd be absolute free trade, barter. Hey, how about I detail your car? Send me that sweet bottle of scotch you got from the Highlands.
Yeah, that sounds how it used to be a very long time ago.
It was a good system. Worked for thousands of years.
Yeah, that is a good system, actually.
But it didn't progress us.
It also didn't have a world war.
Well, it got destroyed.
Poison in the ocean and the rivers and streams of America.
What do you mean it didn't progress us? It got us where we're at today.
Yeah, like it went downhill when the banks got introduced.
We're progressing at rapid paces since, I don't know, the cotton gin here in America.
Well, I think that the people with a lot of money are progressing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the average
I
person is
think the
progressing.
fact that we're sitting in a
Too well.
hangout says that we're progressing.
Well,
We
yeah,
are,
but
but it's a wash. Look at the rainforest.
Well, the quality of life, even for the lowest of the society, as far as monetary value that they have, is increased, of course.
with technology, yeah, we can be here talking to each other, but when it comes to large scales, if we wanted to create or invent something, we would need funding.
Idle Smasher's got a great point too. We have progressed, and a lot of us enjoy that progression, but it hasn't come without a major cost, especially to our environment.
Big price.
We can find that
Environment,
balance. I
society.
do believe in technology.
See,
There's got to be a
Yeah.
balance.
Balance is absolutely key. You're totally right about that.
See, this is the one criticism I have of a free market. Once someone gets enough money, the market ceases to be free.
You mean like Bill Gates or something like that?
That's
I
the
mean,
unfortunates of it.
But here's
Yeah.
the question. Could someone amass that much money in a free society where the government wouldn't be like giving special privileges to businesses or protecting intellectual property?
Well, of course, all you need is have a good product which is going to sell, and you have a lot of money.
Yeah, you just have to go back in history. We've had this of kind of a light currency barter system, right? We've had this before, and that's when we got kingdoms and empires and kings and priesthoods. But that's what it turns into.
I would definitely include the bartering system within my society as well, because it worked and
Yeah.
it allowed people to be social.
Mm-hmm.
And in doing that, you can build relationships with people. If we're giving and receiving at the same time, already the bartering system is a gesture of trust and kindness. It's not just the bartering that you're doing, but you are bartering each other's time. You are bartering each other's talents or skills, whatever. Whatever you can offer the other person, that other person will be grateful, and in turn, vice versa. For example, a lot of people, they can't draw. They couldn't draw a fucking stick figure or a straight line, so a lot of people ask me to draw for them, and people have paid me to draw. And for some reason, people like my fucking artwork for whatever reason. So.
But did they pay you with money or pay you with some other thing that they made?
Mostly people have been paying with money, but pretty soon, and this is why I joined this discussion, because pretty soon I won't be taking commissions anymore, and I'll just draw for free because it just makes me feel uncomfortable taking money from people, but that's just me. I've had to do it to survive and kind of bite the bullet.
Yeah.
But what I did in turn with that was I offered every single person full communication with me. I wasn't aloof. I gave them my face palm and my Skype and my Twitter and all that. And basically I said, hey, I'm going to draw for you. It'll take a little time, but at the same time, you have full access to me. And another thing that I offered was, if you want me to draw it for you live, I can do that, and I've done it. And I don't want to sound like I'm selling my shit right here, right now, but yeah, that's what I've done, and it's worked great. I do have somewhat of a talent. I don't want to boast, but there are more things than just maybe a cob of corn that you can offer somebody.
Yeah.
Hey, Phantom, Hermine's looking for a piece of artwork, right, Hermine?
Again, I'm not here to necessarily advertise. I'm just kind of.
And since it's free, I think she'll take you up on that. In fact, I have. Oh, anyway.
I'm going to say, I don't want to really change the subject, but I do want to say that if you would draw a picture of Abraham Lincoln wearing a Nixon mask, I would pay you for that.
That would be, wow, that's so wrong on so many levels. Wasn't it Nixon who did away with the gold standard?
Yeah.
He put the nail in the coffin. Yeah.
Oh wow.
And they killed Kennedy just a couple of days after he allowed silver to be freely traded again. Yep, Kennedy was actually on the way back to honest money.
Yeah, that's why he was the last real president.
Well, you guys work it out, because I look forward to seeing that drawing.
I thought FDR put the kibosh on the gold standard.
No, he's the one who made it. He made it illegal for you to own gold over a certain amount. You get a couple of ounces per human. You have any more than that, you have to either be licensed, which the government taxes and regulates, and basically in the end you go back to giving it to their people, or you have to get it, or you're confiscated by the government. You go spend time in federal prison. It's still an act to this day. It hasn't. No one's written that out. It's still going on now.
I know people whose jewelry cases have more than a couple ounces of gold.
There's only a certain amount legal. They're not going to come in and take your jewelry, but if you have a bar, yeah. You're a felon, basically.
So if you listen to the government.
That's what FDR did, and then it was.
Yeah, that's why lots of people that trade gold, they do it in certificates and stocks, don't they?
Yep.
If I had bars of gold in my house, I would totally underground trade it. I'm sorry, but if I have that kind of resource, I would totally trade it underground to the highest bidder. Yeah. I'm just imagining a bar of gold in my head right now. It looks so good.
I want to know, like, what do most people do with gold, though? Like, after they trade it for what they want to buy, like, the person who has the gold now, besides trading it to something else, is that as far as it goes? Is trading and trading?
That was money. That's what gold used to be, is money. That's what it was. A certain amount was $1. And you could trade that gold in and get $1 and travel across the country and then give it to another bank and they give you that much in gold and you could take that and pay your sailor or whatever. You know, I mean, that was money. That a certain amount was money. That's what money was. It wasn't a counterfeitable. It was, you know.
Yeah.
I guess the lead thing. Yeah, but
it makes sense because they can't make more like what the government does, just print out any amount of money they want.
Yeah, but you could dig for more. You could blast for more. They were making these artificial bazillionaires out in California to do it.
Yeah, you can find more. I'm pretty sure they're working on gold that looks real but it's fake, just like they got diamonds and everything else fake. But yeah, that's just what the government does. You just can't have a government behind the money system. Just falls apart.
They should regulate it. It should say that, you know, this is money, and anybody who says anything else is, or, you know, the government should say that, yeah, this much gold is $1. You know, that's about as far as government should go with it, or something like that. You know, you can have the law, and you can't. You know, you should be able to nail counterfeiters, but we can't nail ours because they got all the gold.
Well, what you think about taxes in a society like that?
Zero. Local taxes are great. Local taxes are great. They pay for your fire brigade, you know, they can pay for a really nice park to take your kids to, you know.
Local taxes, something that basically everyone agrees on. I support that, definitely. There are a lot of things that my taxes have gone to, and I'd say, yeah, that's cool. I don't necessarily want that, but a lot of people can get a use out of that. Yeah, sure, I support that. Definitely.
Heck yeah. We get a spray ground up here.
I think there are some things that should be federalized.
You think?
Yeah.
Like
U.S. national military?
No.
Yeah. I suppose so.
I forgot about military.
If you only have local taxes, what about education? So only your most populated places would have good education?
Well, if everyone took the time to build up their communities, I think they would have good schools. Probably.
You can't fit 50 kids in a classroom, dude. It'd still be, you know, apportioned. A tax could still, even in a citadel, even in a city, a tax could still be apportioned equal, and only on sales. You shouldn't have to pay income. Maybe sales tax should be the only one, but if we can't do that, I would say, yeah, community. What should be federal? Because some things should be federal. I'm curious to hear what you have to say, Hermine, if I may.
I said healthcare or access to health. I'd say education. And there was a third one I said earlier. Now I can't remember it. I always forget the third.
Probably
You said public service, like roads, yeah.
Roads.
Medical marijuana.
Yeah, right. 'Cause
That'd be under health. Yeah.
No, roads. I think roads should be federal. Transportation should be federal. Is the better actually term for it. What were you thinking are the only things that should be federal? Idle.
What's that? I'm sorry.
What were you thinking were the only things that should be federal?
I would take everything federal we have now and abolish it, except for the Justice Department, the Department of War and or Defense,
Protect your
State
land.
Department. I think we need a State Department. Huh?
How would you protect the land?
Defense Department. That's why War Department, whatever. There'd be the Justice.
It is called Department of Defense, just so you know. But I like Department of War better. It's more honest.
It's more honest, and yeah, it's what you're preparing for, and God forbid it ever comes. But yeah, there'd be what was it? Justice Department. There'd be the State Department. There'd be the Department of Defense. And I really can't think of anything else that needs to be controlled from ocean to ocean by one single governing body. I can't think of anything. I don't like the controlling interstate trade too. I think that should be 100% free and open. I think a guy in one state should be able to pay, another guy in another state and not have to worry about federal interference. I think a West Virginian and a Kentuckian should be able to free trade without having the government get their share.
Amen.
I don't like your place anymore.
But that's it. I wouldn't have nothing else needs to be federal. I think they can all be left to the states.
Would there be tariffs?
Don't
Like,
even
could
have
the
to
government
idle
impose
of
tariffs?
having a state.
I'm
That's
sorry?
the fundamental problem I think I have with Idle Smashers. I don't even like the idea of having state.
You say
Well,
you don't
I
like
mean-
the idea of state?
Yeah, but I mean, if the Mormons want to all live together, they might want to live differently than all the Catholics, on Friday night next door.
Does it have to be a state or could it just be a community?
Yeah, I really think it should be communal first, and always communal first. I really think that's where the focus and the attention should be. But I'm thinking utopian, so I really can't even say there'd be a Department of Defense.
There's one problem with allowing people to kind of homogenize themselves to that extent, where there's not some sort of coercion to intermix, is that you get all these little groups in different places, and pretty soon they start shooting each other.
Oh yeah, that's definitely going to happen. You're right.
I don't see that. I think after the Civil War and the Indian Wars, it's over. There'll be no more war here. Maybe there'll be a nice little revolution. I don't know.
I don't know. I think we're about ready to have a race war in this country. Good
Oh, they're
God.
trying, aren't they? They're really trying to get our goats about that bullshit, aren't they? They're gonna send the country into civil war over bullshit. In any other country, the underlings would riot. They would kill politicians and policemen. In this country, they steal shit. It's embarrassing.
No, it's so
It's
true.
embarrassing.
So true.
I want to speak on that. It's like I believe they are trying to start a civil war. That's one of their goals. But tell you the truth, I think this country is too lazy now. I think they're just gonna get mad, but they're never gonna do anything.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like
I blame Gandhi.
We love to sit on our asses and bitch on the internet, but when are we actually going to march on fucking Washington and say enough is enough? When is that
I've been
going
asking
to
that question for years.
Not when they got the guns. Not when they got the guns. I ain't going to do
Yeah,
it.
that's exactly it. We are more afraid of our government than they are of us.
I blame
I'd
the
rather
super
see
liberal
It should be the other way
hippies.
around. It should be the other way around because there is a clear divide between the government and the people. There's a clear divide. And it wasn't always like that. There was a time where we, the people, had a say in government. Now we really don't. I mean, the government likes to trick us into thinking that we do, but we really don't. But the case is we still outnumber them. We still outnumber them.
Until they get a mazillion drones.
Well, you gotta understand, like them drones and stuff. Yeah, they have them, but they're really trying to make it look like they're a superpower. They have flaws.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want to go up against our government. We don't have any rights. Remember, if you do anything that can be construed as terrorist activity, you don't get to go in front of a judge and have, like, a phone call and talk to your lawyer. They can lock you up, throw away the key, and that's worse
Well,
than...
the thing is, the thing is, if let's say, just for example, if one person were to orchestrate a countrywide revolt or something, it is literally in the Constitution. It's within our laws that if we, the people, if we feel that the government is fucking us, we not only have a responsibility to revolt against them and retake the power, but we have an obligation to
God.
do so.
Apparently,
Yeah, you're allowed to make a state militia.
yeah.
You can only petition the government for a redress of grievances.
Guys, this is such bullshit ever since the Patriot Act.
Yeah. But you gotta understand, like, don't follow. If you follow their unconstitutional laws, then you give it the power.
But okay, I think I pointed this out before. Like the most harmful kind of idea that's been put out there since, like, I'm going to say the 70s because I really hate hippies, but it's the idea that a peaceful protest actually does something.
Exactly. You have to drag out corruption.
A peaceful protest is basically, telling them you're upset. But
So
also
wait,
saying you're not willing to do anything about it.
Do you think Malcolm X had more to do with the civil rights movement than Martin Luther King?
Well,
I think a lot of
I see where you're going.
I think they got pissed. I had some Scotsman jump, or not, yeah, he was Irishman, I think. Anyway, he was a Gaelic, jump down my throat, tell me I don't know history because I said the Civil War movement wasn't peaceful, wasn't all peaceful. He said it was a perfectly peaceful, and it happened, and that's what we need to do now. I said, no, actually, it wasn't quite that peaceful.
It wasn't
There was a shitload of pissed off people in this country.
Exactly.
There's a bigger thing that was at play as to like the civil rights movement and why. It goes to the fact that it was no longer economically in our best interests as Americans to continue to treating this group or this class in the way we were treating them because of how the entire world was looking up on us at that time. So what ended some of the Jim Crow laws were not peaceful, was not Malcolm X, but was in actuality economic.
Mm-hmm. And that just tells you something about a semi-free system anyway. Is that yeah, slavery only works your people out of house or eats you out of house and home. Who said that? Some economics is Are you kidding me? Every other country bought their slaves. We had to have a war. Don't you know that slaves just eat you out of house and home? They don't build anything. They're just you can't. It doesn't. He was trying to do the economics.
I do want to point out one thing. I don't think Martin Luther King would like the idea that the news would report a crime against a black person as a crime against a black person, and not as a crime against an American.
Ooh.
Yeah.
On what
That's what it's all about, ain't it?
that Dr. Martin Luther King would think in this day and age, and I think he would see it in a racial disparity.
Yeah, Rosa Parks. Come on, man.
Well, everything racial, if you ask me.
Given everything that happened with, I think it was Bundy, and I keep wanting to call him Ted Bundy, but that's not it, where those numbnuts could sit out there with guns, like, pointing at police officers, and not one shot was fired. But then you have this guy who's, like, apparently running or walking towards a police officer, and the reality of it is, and the real situation is, that happens so much in the ghetto, happens so much with people who are gay, it happens so much with anybody who isn't kind of the standard ruling class, that something's wrong.
It happens with everybody, if you ask me, all races.
Not in the, it's disproportionately towards brown.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
there is.
disproportionately towards the poor because where I grew up, I didn't have the money, I didn't drive the nice car, and me and like the other guys, we didn't, might have had a hole in our jeans. We might listen to rock and roll music, and yeah, I've been in enough trouble for not really doing anything wrong ever to be in jail as much as I've been. And that's because we only had 2 guys who were black in our town, and both of them were like musicians and really good grades and great guys. I'm not, but we weren't. And they picked on us like you wouldn't believe. I had a hatred of cops before I was old enough to vote.
Dang.
So yeah, they do it. They do it. They just don't like poor people.
It's true. I would agree with that. I think the poor are at even more disadvantage than race.
What's up, Ozzy?
I don't know. To me, it's just a problem in the States where I want a society where 1% of people don't make 80% of the wealth. Is that too much? Or don't hold? That it's just not so out of balance. And like my utopian society, I don't know how you get there, but it's just balance.
We got to stop.
Make it so the only, you make it so the only people that can have guns are the poor people.
No shit.
A heartbeat then.
Yeah, the IRS comes in, looks at your tax performance, says, "Where's your gun?"
What were you going to say, Brother Sean?
Well, I was going to say, like, with the currency you have and this disparity you have between the rich and poor, in any of you guys' new government, would you have to put a cap on the salary?
I would. I would just have a very steeply progressive consumption tax. That's how I would do it. I wouldn't even have an income tax. You'd only be taxed on things you bought. There wouldn't be any penalization whatsoever of income.
But that means the richer would just get richer in your society.
No, I said a steeply progressive consumption tax.
Yeah,
so the rich people who buy luxury stuff, they'd be paying shitloads of tax on it.
But rich people disproportionately spend less of their income on stuff than poor people.
That's why it would be steeply progressive.
Like 99% tax?
If that's what it took, yeah. I mean, the U.S. used to have a 100% tax rate, marginal tax rate through a lot of its history.
But then you take away the incentive?
Yes, that's why it's a consumption tax.
It removes the incentive for taking more than you need.
Okay.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Hey, Alcy.
Hey, what's up?
Welcome. Yeah, I don't think in a free society we would have that problem, really. That's another joke about capitalism is I have $1 billion, my 12 friends back here have 12 more million, you have 1,000, and go! That's exactly what capitalism is. And if nobody sees that, you're too stupid with your freaking Republican Democrat bullshit. You don't see it. That was the
Yeah, the starting point is different for everyone, and you're right. No one sees it, especially the fucking government.
Who do you think had the money? Who do you think had all the money? Really had all the money at the time of the Revolution? The Queen, and she still got a shit ton of her King George, I should say, the throne, and they still got a shit ton of money and influence. They had a huge amount of influence over here even after the Revolution.
Yeah, the money comes from.
Well, actually, that's why Lincoln made the greenback. So European money interests wouldn't have any sway over American politics.
It happened anyway. They tried so many times. The Bank of England's basically the sister bank of the Fed,
But
it was
I just want to say,
it's bigger though.
My system wouldn't have any taxes. There wouldn't be a need for taxes.
Really?
Yeah, you would have compulsory civil service. You wouldn't need to collect money.
Yeah, you just collect labor.
I keep going back to labor being it. People being the monetary value.
Cerberus would have chain gangs. Just kidding.
Hey, I mean, shit, you think about that. It may come to that. Like, what if something really bad happened, and you needed to rebuild some shit?
Like, what if a sewage plant exploded and no one wanted to clean it up? You would just make them.
Or they would just have to live.
Yeah, I mean, people. Yeah, because people need the sewage treatment. They want the indoor plumbing. They just don't want to do the work. Well, too bad. You're doing the work.
Why not just pay them to do it?
You'd have to incentivize people. Sorry.
I think during hard times
you don't
like
have
that,
to. You
there
just
should be
tell
like
them to do it.
A reward.
Say that one more time, yeah, mantra.
during hard times, like if somebody didn't want to clean up like a sewage spill or something, they should get like a bonus, something, reward or some type of prize. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. You have to incentivize them.
Wouldn't there
Yeah,
be people
the
that
incentive is if you don't do it, you don't get anything.
wouldn't
Yeah,
there
you
be
go to
people
jail.
wouldn't there be people who do that for a living?
Yeah,
Probably.
Couldn't you pay them?
But then you
good,
need
but
tax.
the whole entire idea, if something really big happened, you would have this extra labor.
There's no way in hell you could get me to clean up a sewage plant if I could be a janitor or a doctor.
But what if it paid $100,000 a year?
But that's not
But see, that's the whole idea of the system. The person that's already done their time and has become a doctor and is a doctor wouldn't be working on it. It would be the younger people that are getting ready to do their terms of service that would be working on it.
I was talking about Idle Smashers World, where everybody got paid the same amount for the same service
For the same time. Yeah, for the same time.
for the same time.
But I thought people could spend what they wanted with their gold.
They could spend, you're just not paid.
May
But
I
aren't you paid by other
make
people
one
spending
quick comment
in
here?
places?
May I make one quick comment?
If-
I have an idea. Let's all play Monopoly, and instead of regular Monopoly, have it be. Let's give 99% of like what's in the money box to one player, and then all the other players start out with maybe $100, and every time all the other players pass go, we get minimum fucking wage.
No, we're trying to fix the system, not relook at it.
That was a joke, but it was a bad joke.
So can I bring Ozzy up to speed, or can someone bring Ozzy up to speed on the topic so he can?
I'm really not familiar with what you guys are going on about, so you'd have to.
So we're basically kind of talking about if we were in charge of everything, starting from scratch, kind of like what kind of society would you design? What kind of laws would you have? Would you have taxes? All that sort of stuff. Like how would you design it?
Yeah.
And this is like a fictional scenario. Like you're not having to
You can do it.
you're not having to redesign like America or something. It's a fresh start.
So we can effectively do whatever we want. We're
Yep, you're the
the
you're the king.
the
You're
absolute
going to
dictator.
create an enlightened society, and we're going to build it. Go.
Okay. Well, for one thing, you know what I would do is that I would reduce the number of people who go to university, and in place of university degrees, I would have standardized employment tests for a lot of people who want to go to university, so they can just do the tests, and instead of having to get a degree to prove to an employer that they can punch numbers into a computer, they can just do a 2-hour test instead. How about that? That would be nice, especially considering I would like to do that rather than go to university myself.
What are some other things you would do? Come on, we need the whole laundry list.
Well, there's a lot. I mean, I would
How about
probably
economics? You seem to be
try to-
favoring economics.
If you say kill the hippies, I'm your best friend. I want to let you know.
I would probably want to like increase the amount of income equality. Like I think that executive compensation, particularly in the United States, is extremely disproportionate. Like it's just out of control, and that something needs to be done about that to just like reduce the amount of money that certain people are making, because they make too much money. But I really can't offer that much in the way of what I would do.
Do you think massive income inequality in and of itself breeds
I think it
crime
breeds-
and dissent and stuff like that?
That's a good question. I think crime is either a function of an absolute threshold of poverty or relative poverty. Like I'm not certain whether or not if you eliminated like massive income inequality, but there was still inequality, that crime would actually be significantly reduced. I think that people in a world where the average median income was say $1 million a year, and there was no absolute poverty at all, and the people on the lowest incomes were making, say, like $200,000 a year, would they still be resorting to crime? Is crime a function of relative poverty, or is it a function of absolute poverty, or is it both? I would say it is more a function of relative poverty in Western countries now than it is a function of absolute poverty.
So you're saying people need more than just their basic needs met to feel like or so that
I think
they're not
crime
more
is
likely to commit crimes.
I don't know how much. Like, I think that crime is probably just the result of, like, particular personality types, which we have really little control over. And those particular personality types tend to coincide with things like poverty. They're not being, that crime isn't being caused by poverty, it's just being caused by those personality types. And we're confusing the
This
direction
is
of
starting to remind me of the movie Equilibrium, if anyone has seen it.
I haven't seen that.
Ooh, I got an
By the way,
idea.
I'll
I
send
got
you
an
the-
idea. A 100% inheritance tax.
Sounds good.
That would eliminate dynasties for sure.
But then again, that would be bad for me.
Or
I don't know.
do you stand to inherit a lot of money?
Not much. I stand to inherit some, and that's better than nothing, isn't it? We all do,
Yeah, but think about that. That would remove a lot of the people that's essentially making shit harder for you that's sitting above you.
Well, why not make the inheritance tax for people above a certain threshold? The 100% inheritance tax can apply to people who have millions of dollars and not just regular people.
Well, that's not fair.
I don't think that's fair at all. I mean, why would you take someone's legacy? I mean, many people work their asses off to make that fortune.
Because the idea for me is if you're not doing it for the better good, you're doing it for the wrong reason.
But no, it's their property. What if I told you, you cannot own anything because you're not doing it for the greater good? The computer that you now have, you're playing games on it probably and talking to people on the internet. What are you actually doing?
Sorry. I'd like to know one person that someone can name in history that made a shit ton of money, that didn't do it on the backs of someone else, that wasn't deceitful, that wasn't cunning, that wasn't all in all a real life troll.
There's some guy in Japan, I forgot his name, but he did. He created, he's an inventor. He created, dozens of inventions. He's still alive, actually. Forgot his name.
If you can't source it,
The black man
I'm
that invented
serious. You can type it on YouTube. I don't know his name, but
I'd like to know one person.
Japanese guy.
How about Elon Musk?
Yeah, but inventors largely get rich just from their idea and not really the working of other people.
But, okay, 'cause I'm glad you didn't say Thomas Edison.
No one likes him.
Oh, he's horrible. We all hate
Nikola
him.
Tesla was the guy to go to. Not
But
Thomas
did
Edison.
any of these people make a shit ton of money?
Elon Musk is a billionaire.
Oh, I've heard the name before, but I just wonder whether he's really done it that clean.
He founded SpaceX and Tesla, the electric car company.
The irony.
Well, you see, the way that our world is structured, unfortunately, I don't think you can make big money without actually doing something a little bit bad, like what you said.
I don't think it's that. I don't think you have to do bad. I think the people who are in control of a lot of money want you to do what they do. If you're not part of their gang, you can't get money like them.
Don't you want to do what you do? You have an idea of how we should live. You have a perfect. So it's kind of the same thing, isn't it?
Art has a great point. If the structure that you're working within has inbuilt immoral factors or injustices, but you have to work within that system, then anything you do is going to within that system is going to be basically indictable as immoral to some extent, right?
Well, look, to clarify, I was not saying that it's inbuilt. I think that's just our human nature, unfortunately. It's how our communities work. You have to, especially when you're doing business, even the simplest barter, right? You're trying to get as much money as you can from the other person, and that person doesn't necessarily gets a good deal. But
Do we all try and do that?
Yeah, sure.
Really?
Oh yeah, well you try to get the best amount of money for your product that you're trying to
You've
sell.
never said like, I could probably get more from this guy, but I'll give him a good deal and let it go
Oh
for a
yeah,
little bit
of course
less.
you can do it, but you're not making any money. You
I'm
will not
gave
make a living.
I give good deals to people sometimes.
Yeah, I definitely have a lot of times.
Right, but if you want to survive here, if you want to have a good living for your family, for your children, you need to barter. You need to ensure that you get the best price you can, and so does the other guy. And not always is that actually fair necessarily. Although to that person in his situation, it might be fair to him because he values your thing more than you do, for example. So in that sense, it's a fair trade. But that's the problem when you say who hasn't, cheated and or lied or did anything bad to make a lot of money to be a millionaire. It's kind of subjective because he might have actually made a shitty product relative to himself because he doesn't care about it. Neither does half of humanity, but the other half really needs it, and for them it's a good deal. And so it's got a little bit of subjectivity there, I would say. It's much more nuanced.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, can you make a system that avoids treating people as a means to an end?
Well,
I think humans are just naturally goal-oriented.
Yeah, we just have a natural urge to fuck each other over. I'd say.
No, I don't mean that.
Over the
Yeah, but
generation,
the urge to cooperate
comes
is
that way.
stronger. We serve each other. We need each other, and we know this deep down inside.
Well, they're both. They're actually both these urges. We have a urge to make communities, tribes, and we have the urge to fuck up the other tribe because our tribe is better.
I think there's also an urge to take from the tribe for your own benefit. I think at least some people seem to have that urge.
I think that's a nowadays society type mentality.
Yeah, possibly. I don't know I don't know the ins and outs of ancient tribal societies.
Well, probably that was the case in ancient societies as well, because that's evolution. And I know not everyone accepts this, but that's the working theory. And that's how they survived. That's how they were more likely able to survive than the other tribe, who did not fuck up, who did not try to fuck up the other tribes. Because they stayed stagnant, while the tribe that tried to fuck up everyone and take their goods had a more chance of surviving.
I feel as though you could conceptualize sort of like our interests as a series of like overlapping concentric circles with ourselves in the center, then our immediate families just above ourselves, and then like our extended families outside of our immediate families, and perhaps our tribe or our nation outside of that, and everybody else sort of like in the outside of the circles entirely.
It's not a bad way of looking at it. I mean, I can say I probably would do things for my family members that I wouldn't do for a total stranger. If I'm being totally honest.
I think we put ourselves before everybody else, but at the same time, we'll always put our family before perhaps our extended family, and then maybe a lot of us would put our nation, however we define that, like in terms of our religion or our nationality or our race, before like people outside of that nation.
This is going to sound like a cop-out, but I consider myself an Earthling, and I love everyone except for hippies and Reagan.
I
It's
think
like a
we're in a
paradox.
free society. and
I've almost put the word Earthling on so many job applications, but I know that as soon as I did that, I would not be considered.
Well, they would think you're a hippie and they wouldn't hire you.
Wait, did you say hippies and Reagan?
Yeah, I hate both of them. Reagan's an awful human being, and hippies thought they could do stuff by doing nothing.
Yeah, I don't like mentality like love's gonna solve everything. There's a place for love, but it's not gonna solve everything.
Yeah, we're going to get together and listen to music for a few days. Yeah, we're going to change the world. Okay, sure. Because that will change stuff.
Wait, are you talking about Ronald Reagan? Reagan?
Yeah,
Yes.
I hate Ronald
A lot of people
Reagan.
don't like Reagan.
He's dead.
Yeah, I don't care. He's like the one man that's existed that I would go take a shit on his grave.
Why?
boy.
What is it about Reagan you didn't like?
He
He's a
took
bad
out my damn cornerstone.
Oh.
Oh man,
Yeah.
the true Mason comes out.
Mason's coming
Well,
out,
I
yeah.
mean, for fuck's sake, he has his own economic system called Reaganomics.
No, but
Cerberus.
Pretty terrible.
No, I
Reaganomics.
really do hate him for supply side economics. It's stupid.
Just
Gospel-
because he tried to take down your temple, Illuminati temple of corruption and destruction,
But that's it. He
doesn't
didn't
mean
do
you can
that.
take a poop on his grave.
But he didn't do that. He just took off the signature.
I don't like what place.
would
What
he
place
do
are you
that?
talking about? Where did he take it off at?
Cerberus is a Mason, aka a reptile.
Why would he do that? Why he just took it off a temple, one of the temples, one of the
He took it off the White House.
Oh,
On the White House, it was an interned stone, so no one could see it because people thought the Masons were religions, and it was supposed to be a public building. So we put our stone up, but we hid it so no one would worry about it.
yeah.
It was just like a maker's mark.
Why do you like being a Mason?
so he took it out just why, to be a dick, or did he hate Masons, or did he just have to look at it?
I've been told that he was refused at a lodge at one point, but I mean that could just be hearsay.
But he did it under the guise of separation of church and state, right?
I don't even remember. I was just shown the pictures where he had crews working on the White House, and they tore out the stone and broke it. And
Hey, Cerberus.
just threw it away. What?
You could call him an idol smasher.
Do you like? Do you think this government is doing a good job?
It's doing a good job at what it thinks it wants to do. It's not a good government.
It's doing a fantastic job.
I thought Masons like governments.
I think the government. I think they're doing a great job for what best suits them,
Yeah.
not us.
Well, yeah. I know the government's corrupt.
Yeah, I like governments.
I just wanted to know because I don't know. I thought Masons would. I don't know. It seems antithetical.
You hired Masons to build stuff. If you've ever been in a Mason-built building, you know that you're in something that is almost holy. It's an amazing feat of what they construct and how they construct it and all that good stuff.
Yeah, that's
And that's what you hire a Mason for. So yeah, some of the public buildings are probably going to be. I never really got the Mason government connection either, because I thought Mason was very much of a community people thing.
What's sad about? Go on.
I don't know though. I'm not a Mason.
Well, what's sad is that there are lots of Masonic centers around where I live that have fallen into absolute disrepair, and they're often abandoned, and they're very
Yeah.
beautiful buildings on
That's
the
what they want
outside.
you
But
to think.
There's a Masonic temple around where I live at that's broken down and all.
I'll show you
trashed
some.
out.
Yeah, I like to take photos of them. Here's one I took just about an hour from me, and I haven't seen anyone inside it in a long time.
I can go
What's
to
up with that, Cerberus?
Yeah, a lot of them are just sold.
Yeah. This is because the Masons are just not as popular as they used to be.
Yeah, we went down from like 15 million to 5 million in the
It's like
United States.
Yeah, declining institution.
There's different type of Masons though. They're like I'm guessing Cerberus is like one of the Masons that just like this society. But when you get high up, there's like the evil Masons, if you ask me, corrupted by power and money.
That's right.
The one I just
I
put
didn't
a-
mean to take it here. I just wanted to say I hated Reagan. I'm sorry.
Took us to the Cerberus. Well, you know what?
That's all right.
If we want to, hold on. If we want to take it further, I'm gonna do it off air because we've gone 3 hours on here, and I think the discussion was great, and you just touched the tip of the iceberg because I mean we didn't even get into like how we would run our criminal system and our justice system and stuff like that. But maybe we could do that another time. So yeah, I want to thank everybody for contributing. And with that, and everybody on the audience, thanks for listening. And we're gonna go off air and continue talking about the fucking Masons.
Okay.